And then I actually decided it home.
It happens too.
You're good. Okay. Say good evening. Nice to see you again, too. It is Thursday, April 23rd, 2026. I'd like to call this Board of Education business meeting to order. It is 5:30 p.m.
Pierce?
Put my clock closer to me.
Pierce?
Yes.
King?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
McHugh?
Here.
North.
Here. And so for agenda approval, I'd like to make an amendment. And that would be that, under D, board business discussion and possible action items, that we move D4, IT services, out of action item realm. And that we don't vote on the contract tonight. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you look at your agenda, under D4, it says IT services, RFP proposal, and job description and salary. The intent here, I believe, is for us to vote on a contract. And this agenda does not indicate that to the public. And so I would like that we have our discussion on the contract, but that we are going to probably have to schedule a study session later to approve the contract after we put it out for a public notice. Because we really cannot vote on this contract tonight. Is there a second?
Sydney did.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Pierce?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
McHugh?
Yes.
North.
Yes.
Another one?
Board of Education update.
Oh, Jessica, public comment?
Public comment. We do.
Yes, we have John Crawford.
Okay.
This the public space.
You can stand, you can sit, you can.
And you have three. Guys. I'm Jonna Crawford, parent of a student and a graduate. I have a few jobs here. I'm an after-school lead teacher, an all-day sub, and the coordinator of 21st Century Grant, which brings in over $60,000 at King Murphy, but we are the last school still to qualify for it in the district. I'm here tonight to deliver this report of incidents over the last 4 years. This outlines how our district fails to advertise, hire, and prioritize money and positions that could literally give us thousands of dollars. One example is how our HR director refuses to advertise jobs online. She posts them on our district website, but they're not linked or shared anywhere on the World Wide Web, despite requests to do so. There's no Indeed, no Monster, and no Facebook. Years of this inaction has kept our hiring pool small or unqualified. Then we're forced to hire people out of necessity that quit or ghost us, and we're back to relying on subs like me for jobs instead of covering for teachers that need it. The grants we do have take qualified, dedicated people to apply, report, and keep them. Our grant allows us to give free after-school care, including basketball, art, and theater for our families, which then increases enrollment. As we speak, my manager, Sunny, is having her job eliminated. This choice is actual insanity from a fiscal point of view. Sunny took over for Becky Dancer, who trained me and taught me how to keep our grants, but I can't do that alone. Earlier this year, the HR director lowered the wage of my grant assistant by $5 an hour, despite it being budgeted and approved for years. It's extremely hard to get people to apply for a job when everyone knows the wage has gone down $5. After-school programming is not a para or assistant job. We often run programs on our own with more diverse kids than a classroom. This has affected us by sometimes being out of ratio, or we've had to limit attendance or even cancel events. It was never discussed, and my CDE rep told me there was no written justification for the change. I have a journalism background, and in Kansas, I used to cover Board of Education meetings as a reporter for a decade. I've seen what a superintendent and team with vision and knowledge can do for an actual district. Our district has been driving this broken car for years, but continues to only change the driver. I believe it's not time to only look for a mechanic, but possibly also we should invest in some new parts, because changing drivers is not fixing the problem. Please review the report I've attached and brought for you. It's time our community knows about the repercussions of the decisions that are being made internally. Thanks for your time. I sincerely hope I get to talk to each one of you at another time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other?
No, no others.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I this month attended the BOCES meeting. We got personnel update and discussed how they're rearranging some of the jobs to have more coverage of the higher level clinicians, and then hiring for the lower level to kind of help with our budget. We did discuss the budget going into next year and approved a salary increase. I also attended King Murphy for office hours. We had several staff members come in that offered suggestions on grants, a couple budget ideas and concerns, and then brought up some preschool busing information. There's been some changes in those laws, so we've passed on that information. And then I've also attended DAC. They're going to be here, I don't know if it's study session or business study next month.
Yeah.
So I won't give too much information there. I think they'll cover that. Won't steal their thunder. And then yesterday I got to go to King Murphy Earth Day and help with a really cool mural that they're doing on their wall, retaining wall. Lots and lots of paint on the pavement as well. But it was amazing to see all the kids excited, energetic, and they mixed the grades, which was really cool. So the kids were not just with their normal classmates. They got to interact and be in a slightly different environment. So a huge thanks to the teachers there, especially Jill Kokol for putting that together.
I also attended DAC, and they will be at our study session. Our last DAC meeting is going to be May, and we're going to choose chairs, leaders, and everything for next year. I also attended 2 enrollment task force meetings, and I'm not going to give too much of an update because they're also going to be at our study session. But we did start talks about potentially consolidating some committees, DAC, SAC, PTO. It's just, it's in the talking phases. It's just suggestions because it's the same parents on every committee and it's a lot of meetings for everybody. And then I also participated in the IT selection committee, which we'll talk about tonight.
Lori, I have to give you a huge shout out for our business cards. The fact that they're in Spanish on the back has been just an amazing thing that I keep getting compliments. So thank you for doing that. GROC, I started going to those meetings. The one that I went to was a pretty tough one to kind of jump into. It was mostly administrative. A lot of policy review, budgeting stuff, adjustments, and mostly for the next few months. So hopefully some of those things get a little bit more clear to me as I participate some more. I went to vertical alignment meeting with Wes and at the rec center. I was presented with an opportunity and I kind of took the baton and ran with it. And so what a lot of that meeting was about was a desire for district level involvement with our field day instead of just King Murphy and Carlson. And what I've been able to do so far is I have Denver Health Injury Prevention Team coming. They're bringing helmets for kids. They're bringing staff to do helmet fittings. I have a neurosurgeon coming to do a talk on brain health and TBIs. Staff have requested a cookout, and that seems largely well received and doable. I'll just have to coordinate volunteers. Just want to make sure that all families know that they're invited. And I've been able to get enough donations that every pre-K through sixth grader in our district is going to get helmet. Bike helmet. I also did some volunteering at Carlson's Earth Day. I assisted Nurse Emily with all of her first aid station stuff. The kids just patched up some really injured stuffed animals. It was so fun to watch. And then I was also present for Carlson's board office hours. I stepped in for a teacher who was working on their lunch break and was going to go and take a true lunch break. A lot of the feedback I've received the last 2 times now feels pretty consistently about ongoing student attendance concerns, compensation and frequency of salary freezes, and then a very clear disapproval of meet and confer. I've gone to some other community events. I saw Jessica at one last night actually for
Scraps to soil.
what?
Scraps to soil.
Yeah. I've received some pretty consistent feedback, themes-wise. They tend to be mostly operational, so I try to give people kind of like the right direction and where to go. But I also want to make sure I'm representing my community well, and so I am bringing them here. Concerns are around pay, number of teachers we're losing, and a general frustration with meet and confer. And interestingly, I'm also getting some feedback that there's a desire for improved communication. But I know that we've improved our communication, we've worked on our website. So just, it feels like there's a disconnect. And so I'm wondering if there's a way that we can address like what we're intending versus how it's being received. And just, I really appreciate the opportunity for all these people to be open and honest with me.
Okay, so for mine, I want to start off with that yesterday was Administrative Executive Day. And Lori, I just want to say personally, I am so grateful for the work that you do for our district, what you do for our board, what you are able to accomplish for Wes under the scenarios that we have gone on flight with. You act with grace and professionalism at all times, and that is so appreciated. Thank you so much. So in my regular course of activities, I attended Lookout Mountain Water District, and that's when we decided to work out the MOU between the entities. I think we have a copy of the MOU that Wes has shared. We had a few different meetings between, with Wes and Brent and sometimes Aaron on Field House and Lookout Mountain Water District. So you'll get updates on those things as well. I played hooky on my long range committee. I'm just gonna put it out there that I did that. But it was so I could join the mayors and commissioners meeting. And it was one of those things where, I wasn't having a great day. But when I went to this thing and you see the resilience, you see the resilience of these kiddos in our community who literally maybe don't have family members, don't have the support they need to even function as a child in the community, but somehow they've risen above it. And it's just so inspiring to see those kids and how our community actually does support those kids and lifts them at the same time. Like I said, it was great. Food was great. I think that's about it. I'm sure there's more, but
There's always more.
there's always.
So, and BOCES meeting, so like your update stand there, but enrollment task force, I attended with you. The Scraps to Soil, I attended with you. So there's
Are you in that
conditions.
position? You're in that spot now where you don't have to say anything.
Attended office hours, thank you, Nicole and and Sydney for attending those with me this month. I will be going to my middle kids' graduation, so I thank everyone that is able to make space this month to fill in, but it has definitely been well received. I think it's nice to be in the space, to see our educators and students in action. So thank you for everybody who's volunteered time. Marcy and then you said you would go next month, and yeah, we'll give you a download. So
Yeah, sounds good.
so you can talk to your fellow board members on what their experiences were like too.
Okay.
Thank you for attending Georgetown.
I'll be attending with her on the 7th as well.
Excellent.
I'm putting that out there just so we don't have a quorum, actually.
No, say I will be there, so yeah, it'll be great. So again, thank you for, because again, how do we communicate better? And so being present seems to be one of those better ways to do that. I attended the safety meeting. Those were,
Thank you
This
for
month,
doing
yeah.
that, yeah.
no, it was really awesome to see so many of our community first responders all in one place and putting our students first and really communicating through what some different options are for, making sure that we have them responding as quickly as possible and learning about new tools that might be available. And so,
Can I interject on one thing?
yes.
So, today, 9 News has been working with other news stations to get their Cora fulfilled for the Evergreen shooting that happened. And so they were gonna charge them, I think, $3,000, something like that. So a bunch of the news organizations got together and released it. They all paid for it, they all shared on the payments, but that's been released. One of those parents shared it with me as a safety committee. So it's 600 pages that I'm sure I'll love to read in bubble bath time, something like that. But I think it's important for us to review what happened there and see if we can glean any, life experiences that can help us.
I also attended the student advisory lunch. That we had some students echo our educator concerns about gaps that might occur with kind of changing some of the structure and counseling. So we shared that with people. Some concerns about Warren Tech, hopes for additional supports for our college prep students, but just thankful for all the work being done to hear those students and the action items that are already taking place. Yeah, I think you covered all of my office hours. I really want to thank every educator that has responded, even if it's to say, look, I don't feel like my voice is properly being heard with the meet and confer process. It's hard to hear because I know that our hope was that it would improve the conversations and communication, but that was heard and echoed many, many times. I also appreciated some of the feedback that just said, as you think about compensation, think about how it affects us as individuals, what the difference in a step is, what the difference in that COLA payment does for us, how it affects folks at the top of the pay scale. Steps don't affect, COLAs do, but and just again, the complexity that is. So Jen, thank you in advance for the information you're about to share with us too on what ways we can better improve compensation moving forward. I also want to lift up concerns that folks have lifted about. You're going to ask for more money from us when maybe your process last time wasn't great. So I want to just say out loud that we have learned things.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, so so we had the design oversight groups in each building and how those were made up and maybe how they were heard or not heard. There were some
You mean with
members
the last bond?
with the last bond, sorry. So how can we, what are we gonna do different?
I 100% agree with.
I agree with that as well.
So, there were concerns, I heard from members of the dog in this building that they were told they weren't in alignment with the plan. So they didn't need to come to meetings anymore. That really isn't acceptable, but that cannot be how we move forward. If we're going to ask for feedback or ask people to volunteer their time, we need to listen. And anyone that we hire to help represent us need to be doing that on our behalf, or why are they there? So those were some hard things to hear. I know that's why some people ran to be on this board. So I want to say that as we're moving forward and looking at, what we need to be successful, we're looking backwards on what things weren't done well and just need to be,
Accountable.
yes. And then I'll let Jen talk about budget stuff. But thank you for your time and answering some questions for me. Yes.
I want to echo what was said. Lori, it's a pleasure to work with you. And her organizational skills really keep me focused, and so I appreciate that.
Which keeps us focused.
Keeps us all focused, yes. And so thank you for that. And I also say thank you to all the team. You guys work very hard. Kristen, Jen, Tammy, Michelle. It's a great team in the office there, so I appreciate everybody's efforts to keep things going, paying the bills, get those paychecks out, and take care of business. Today is Day Without Pay, so I'm wearing the t-shirt. Today's students at the high school and middle school wear white today, or wore the t-shirts to just recognize all the challenges we face every day in our world, and so just making sure that we take care of each other. And so I want to do a shout out to the staff here for organizing that. Tina, I think, is the big effort behind that. And so thank you for the staff and students for doing that. Yesterday, I celebrated Earth Day by quickly kind of visiting some of the stations, the science stations. And I included some pictures there in your packet of some of the activities. It really gave a chance for rotation of different.
In the most awkward position.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say
I looked so uncomfortable.
The problem is I'm not allowed to take pictures of the front of the kids. I have to have their backs. You can't recognize them. So no one will know that it's you. Sorry.
It's okay, it's fine.
So they had different stations. The students would kind of rotate through. The one in the upper left-hand corner is the solar panels. So they had to put the solar panels together circuit-wise, and then they pushed the button, the different lights would come on showing that the circuits were all connected, which I thought was super cool. And the one next is the art classroom. The teacher was kind of doing a little bit of a biology art assignment. So students had dried flowers, and they were sketching the dried flowers. So that was super cool to have that connection with Earth Day. And then, of course, we had the pellet activity.
Photo of that person that we don't know.
No, do not be noticed. Defined. They were doing pellet dissections, and one of the boys came over and says, "I think this is some mice's head." And I'm like, "Might be." So
I was really into it, obviously.
right. So it was a really cool experience going around. And continue with that, the middle schoolers yesterday released the trout into the stream. And so that was really cool to get that in the email today. So I wasn't able to go there, but it was cool that they had a chance to do that. Speaking of water, we are, as Carrie Ann pointed out, we're working through an MOU. So we presented our perspective at MOU because the two legal counsels hadn't had a chance to meet prior to us coming together. We did cancel the meeting for this week, but we'll reschedule it once they get a chance to talk it over and kind of come to some sort of consensus, or at least something for us to come to consensus later. As was pointed out by Sydney, we did have a meeting on Monday with the Clear Creek, I call it Community Partnership, vertical alignment. It does all those things. And so one was the first celebration of the Annie Junior, having the students from the elementary schools come and see the performance. learn about middle school while they're here and have lunch here, have a big kid lunch here. So it's kind of cool for the kids to have that. So lots of celebrations with that. And then we're trying to, how do we move the next step, which is the field day, which is the 27th. As pointed out, we're encouraging all parents to come. This is typically not attended by very many parents. So we want to encourage them to come to it. And if there's any coaches working on volunteers, I think she may have all done yet, but I'm not sure. So if you get asked to be a volunteer, please consider it. It helps make it a better day for all the kids and their activities. The last thing is Fall Homecoming Parade. We're working on some supports from the city level, which I'll talk to Tina about. I know she'll have questions about it. So talking to how we can support her in organizing the parade. We're gonna try to do it through downtown on Minor Street. And we're gonna try to make it a little bit bigger. Also encouraging folks those parents and community members who wanna go to the homecoming game to maybe enjoy a meal down in Idaho Springs. And then we'll have shuttle buses from Rec Center and Mountain Youth Network to drive them up to the high school. So they can attend, have a great day, see a parade, have a meal, and watch a great football game as the Diggers win the game.
Yes.
On another note, Fieldhouse Apartments, they're in the process of leasing those. We are working with our legal counsel and their legal counsel to address making sure that all of our employees have a chance to have one of the 4 units that's available in the property that we worked so hard. Carrie had a lot to do with that. Previous board members had a lot to do with that. And we want to make sure that we took away reducing the rent, making sure it's affordable for staff in our district to rent. You got to make sure that there's not a cap on their income too. So we're trying to work through those things, and I'll have more to share with you once Brent circles back with me with their conversation.
Just a little more detail on that. The way that they have lined it out currently is that no married couple that works for the district that are both working could actually be allowed to live in one.
And is it because they would make too much?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a 70%.
Our deed
90%.
does not require an income cap.
It does not.
And so for us to abide by that, we'd be in violation of the deed, or they'd be in violation of their deed.
So these last 2 categories, it's really important for us to provide housing for our staff. And so working through Fieldhouse, those are open, they're up and running. Now we just got to make sure we can put some folks into the 4 apartments that we are providing at a lower rate so that it makes it possible. I'll shift now into the Old Carlson. I met with them on Monday. DW is the contractor on that, and they're working through, they got EPA approval on the project. They're working with the city of Idaho Springs to get approval to build 50 more apartments for the area. So you have, I think there's 400 from the Fieldhouse Apartments. Am I correct in that amount?
I think that's about right.
About 400, 300, 400?
Are you talking about units?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, there's quite a few. I'll just say it that way, just for
There's a
safety.
lot.
There's a lot.
More than what we're doing.
Right. And then Old Carlson had some more, 50 more on top of that. And so I included your report if you want to put on the slide. Next slide. So these are some of the images. This is the entrance to Minor Street. So this is Welcome to Idaho Springs. You kind of can see the facade, wide sidewalks, which is kind of nice setback there. So a little bit of variation in colors and so forth. So that's exterior. Next slide, please. This is a side view of the apartments there. Another one side view, so a little bit different. You see some trees, and you got to get that differentiation.
So the
Colors.
first was maybe Minor Street, and the second was.
I think the Colorado Boulevard. This is interior view. This is the parking lot. The buildings will be set, one facing Colorado Boulevard, the set facing Minor Street. That's requested in the city because there's some utilities that run underneath the parking lot. So, yes.
Easements that don't actually exist.
So,
utilities do.
so that's,
But we're being good neighbors.
we're being good neighbors.
Absolutely.
And so there are 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom apartments in the unit. And so I'll include in my update for you all this week. And it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on them for getting their environmental, yeah.
And then the last thing I have in my information is just a poster that Sydney, thank you for creating a field day flyer poster for
Coach created it. I'm just passing it along.
co-created.
Coach.
Coach created.
She created
Oh,
it.
she created, okay.
Yeah, and she was already sending it out. That's why I
So you
sent it
included the
out.
packet then?
Yeah.
My packet, yeah. All right, okay. So that's my update for that. I'll move on to
Right, I know,
legislative update.
legislative, you got it.
So I was fortunate last week to go to Washington DC, Case, Colorado, and their sponsors paid for the trip. As the past president of Case, it afforded me the opportunity to come speak to our legislators. So we primarily focused on title funds, Title I, Title II, and Title III, about making sure that we provide supports, maintaining those supports for our students, and Title II for professional development. A real big focus was on CTE. Our rural districts are really struggling to provide all the CTE programming for our student needs, and so increasing the funding for CTE within our schools will be huge. And the other one is IDA. When passed in the 70s, the legislation said that the federal government would provide 40% of the services that students needed, currently only providing 10%. And so we asked for not just the full funding that they're providing right now for the 10%, but full funding for the 40%. They all understand that is a need, especially with the growing need of supporting students that have had challenging births and things like that, and have overcome with medical progress, have allowed them to continue, have put a burden, I would say respectfully, on our systems, and so it really puts a challenge for services to make sure we provide those services. So we want to make sure those kids are taken care of in our schools, and hoping that fully fund those needs. The last thing we talked about was the voucher system, and making sure that we maintain public education funding, and funding doesn't get pulled away from our public education through vouchers. And so most of the folks were very supportive of that. We had some good debates with some other folks, and it was good to have those conversations and kind of share our perspective. And then for 3 of our representatives, I did a little after conversation with them about our Lookout Mountain Water District. They all were aware of the situation, which I appreciated, and they all said that they would support it as it went through the funding process. So. And then the last thing is the CA ballot measure. It's working its way through. I really appreciate CA's effort to work collaboratively with CASE to correct some of the language in the ballot measure, to provide clarification on funding for public education, especially if they're going to hold Tabor funds to support funding in the state of Colorado. We want to make sure that it's a priority for public education, and we're working towards that and getting very much closer to that endeavor before it goes out to the voters. Yeah. So D1 and D2. So Jen and I are going to tag team this presentation. So she's going to do she's doing the first one quarterly, and then I'll do the second. Sorry.
So you did. I do it too. I'm just excited to see Jen.
Your quarterly.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I can do that.
Like, it's a, yeah, it's PDF.
Yep.
This one, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna make it a little bigger. Second?
That looks nice.
Okay. And then you'll just have to tell me like when to
Go ahead.
scroll.
Okay, we will start here. So looking at Q3, our quarterly financial update, the district's year-to-date financials reflect normal timing differences and revenue collections and planned expenditure patterns, along with a few variances related to operational and structural changes. There were no noticeable or notable concerns or changes in comparison to Q2, with the exception of anticipated one-off expenses. And then at the next meeting, I'll have the opportunity to show you the proposed budget, and that's going to cover a lot of this more in depth with an overall snapshot, as we get to see a projection for the end of FY26. There are some footnotes on the bottom, but I'll just do some key highlights on each of the funds. Property tax revenue is below prior years, just due to timing, as the second March payment was received in the first week of April, when normally it's been received in the last week of March. So that kind of made it look a little lower than the last 2 years of this time. And then included in the revenue for that is $113,000 of Youth Connection grant revenue. Even though it's a grant, it's one of the few that runs through our general fund. Salary and benefits are trending in line with expectations through and comparable to Q2. I like to look at Q2 and Q3's salary and benefit trends, since they're the best reference, as they have the same pay cycles, where Q1 and Q4 have different pay cycles. This one has 3 solid months in each one. Support services are currently over budget, just due to the timing of an annual invoice that was recognized in Q3. But it's a whole year's worth of invoice. That's for the JCMH Jefferson Center for Mental Health. And it's just a large invoice, so it kind of skews those numbers versus the quarterly budget. Debt principal payment reflects expected with timing, with 50% of the annual obligation paid, and the remaining payment is scheduled for Q4. So you'll see $0 there, but that's because it'll come out next month. State revenue is trending a little lower year-to-date compared to prior years, and that's just a reduction in state share and an increase in the local share. Overall, year-to-date expenditures are flat or under budget, with the exception of central services. And this one's mostly over budget due to IT transition costs. So instructional services are trending as expected. The variances you see are just related to payroll cycle, are related to timing issues, but our payroll cycles are aligned with Q2. So I don't have anything concerning with that section. Student support services are higher in Q3, and that's due to the timing of the annual invoice for JCMH. General admin is primarily over budget due to the audit services being billed in Q3, and the superintendent salary benefits were budgeted a little lower last year before we had made our hiring, so that's going to look like an overage at the end of the year. That's just driven by compensation adjustments. Salary and benefits increased in Q3 due to budget revisions and updated coding to allocate more salary costs to grant funding. Indirect cost recoveries will be posted in via journal entries in Q4. So the other budget serves as contingency for new or expanded grants received and during the year. You know what, I'm sorry, I was reading down and I skipped to grants, but I didn't finish where I was at. Debt principal and interest, currently under budget due to timing. Only one of the 2 annual payments has been made, with the second occurring in Q2. No, it's Q4. School admin, we already talked about that. Business services, the budget is a little bit over due to increased costs from marketing, communications. Infinite Campus costs were higher than budgeted. IT services, copier lease came in higher, and then phone systems. The copier lease won't end higher as soon as we receive our reimbursements from All Copy, and I think since I've done this, we actually have received that reimbursement, so it'll balance itself back out to budget. And this category is projected just to finish a little over budget on the year. Okay, are we at food services? Perfect, thank you. The local revenue includes a reimbursement for the food purchases we make for Georgetown GCS. So it's gonna look higher than the budget. but it's gonna be offset by the corresponding supply expense. So you'll see supplies also looks over budget, but they, balance each other out. It's just one's in revenue and one's in expense. The state and federal revenue is lower year-to-date, 58% of budget, and that's just due to timing, as most of these revenues are not received in Q1, and then quarterly revenue appears higher when the payments are received later in the year. So no concerns on that. Salary and benefits are a little under budget due to an open position, and year-to-date appears low due to July and August payroll timings, which we'll post in Q4. Professional services, under budget due to prior year software renewal costs that were not properly moved out of prepaid expenses. So it wasn't budgeted for enough, but this will be addressed in FY27 budgeting. Property services, higher year-to-date due to maintenance performed earlier in Q1, no concern noted. Supplies over budget because of GCSD purchases, which are offset by the local revenue. Additional variance in Q3 is due to food loss from the power outages, also expected to be reimbursed through insurance. Transfer ends are not complete yet, and they are expected to post in Q4. Moving on to grant. Revenue currently trails expenses due to the timing of multiple reimbursable grants. I had it hidden this time so it was easier and cleaner to see, but on the Q2 I kind of give you a list of which ones were reimbursable, so a lot of them are, and that's expected for our revenue to be like that. Supplies, higher than expected expenditures driven by mid-year adjustments to grant budgets. As the years go, or the months go in the year, we do not always adjust the budgets exactly to all the different changes we make throughout the grants, because there's an awful lot of them, and I think it would get lost a lot more. But before we close out the year, a lot of the grant budgets will get adjusted in our system to reflect actual numbers and align with the budgets that we have submitted in applications. So right now they may look off, but I have good faith that all of this will end at zero and no concerns in grants. Is building probably the next one?
Redemption?
Yes, okay. Debt service, interest and principal were made in December, and the second will be planned for June. Budget is exact, and so we are on schedule. Paying agent fees were paid in Q3, and we're expected to come in under budget on those. Local revenue increased in Q3, with the largest inflows occurring in April and June, consistent with the tax collection cycle. Timing impact due to the timing of local revenue receipts relative to debt service payments. The fund may temporarily appear to be operating at a deficit. However, this is just a strictly timing related manner. Fund balance. The fund maintains sufficient reserves to cover the expenditures until the revenues are received. The revenue will be received prior to the June payment, and we'll rebuild the fund balance in preparation for next December's payment cycle when the revenue slows. And bond. The revenue is expected to exceed budget, resulting in higher than anticipated funding for the year. No, that's not true. Yes, that is true. Okay. Sorry guys, I did this like 2 weeks ago and I've lived a whole life since then. Let's see. A portion of this is Clear Creek Schools Foundation grant. They're in the final stages of spend down, and I actually expect it to be fully spent by the end of the year. So the budget appears a little bit inflated due to FY '25 invoices that posted after the budget adoption. So I think there's actually only 10K remaining in that fund. On here, I think it says 95,173, but after what we've actually spent on the year, what they had spent the prior, that wasn't reflected. There's only about 10,000, and then we'll be finished with that holding place. Capital projects, roof repairs, original budget was limited to King Murphy and high school projects. And then the contingency funds are just going to be reallocated to align with the actual project expenditures. And with the remaining funds to be utilized as additional capital expense needs arise. The fund continues to operate at a planned deficit due to the minimal interest earnings and the intentional drawdown of the fund balance. Year to date, the fund balance is approximately 3.2 million, of which 2.4 is reserved for arbitrage, leaving roughly 800K available for the planned expenditures. That reserve, this is primarily driven, the revenue is primarily driven by the insurance claim reimbursements. This line is expected to be offset by corresponding claim revenues. There's going to be a net of approximately 20K in deductibles, and the timing of the reimbursements may result in a receivable being recorded if not received within the fiscal year. I've met with Sid Sip multiple times this week and Aaron to make sure we can try to get all of this to happen by June 30th, but I'm not positive on some of it if it's going to, so we may have to book a receivable for that. But every penny and dollar so far accounted for and tied to with Sid Sip, so I feel pretty good just running it through this account.
What is our building deductible on the claim?
Per claim it's 5,000.
So even though it's the same incident, we pay 5,000 for, or is it the
Oh,
claim
no,
is one
it's the
incident?
claim as a whole. I'm not sure what it is by building. I think it's just per claim it's 5,000.
So did we have 4 buildings? I see 3.
It's not on building, it's isolated incidences. So we had the first windstorm,
Okay.
the second windstorm,
League gymnasium.
gymnasium, leak, glycol leak.
Right.
And
And it's baseball field.
then the damage on the roofs was not related to the wind.
That's right, hail.
The inspector said it was more of the hailstorm that had occurred earlier in the year. I know we fought and pushed back on that, and I think that there was a conversation that they were maybe going to be able to put it into the one windstorm, but the damage that they were seeing was hail related. But I know that Aaron didn't feel that way and said something, and I think they said maybe we can lump it into that windstorm, or maybe it has to be the part of the hail.
Right.
So anywhere between 15 and 20,000 for the deductibles. Okay, capital. Oh, we're already on. Okay, so the expenditures this year, we did 40,000 for Chromebook purchases, and those were distributed across 3 sites. 4.9 thousand for a high school pond irrigation survey, pardon me. The remaining budget is approximately 45K, which is expected to be fully utilized, including 20K allocated for insurance deductibles. The fund balance appears elevated, and that's just due to the remaining 1.05 TDOT loan balance. Excluding this loan, the adjusted fund balance is approximately 719,000. Once the TMF loan proceeds are fully expended, increased transfers from the general fund will be required to support ongoing capital. Expenditures appear unusually low year to date, and that's just due to the prioritization of remaining fund spending. And as a result, the fund may temporarily show a deficit position quarterly until the interfund transfer is complete. I'll do all the interfund transfers in Q4. Pre-K, final one, guys, thank you. Q2 and Q3 revenues are higher than Q1 and Q4, consistent with the September through May funding cycle. The UPK is higher than anticipated. And then it includes the GCS pass-through funding, which is offset in a separate expenditure line. The transfer in amount to be determined. When I wrote this, I believe the full transfer may not be required as enrollment had increased to meet the budget assumptions, but now that we've passed this, probably still full transfer. Those are all my notes. If anyone has questions.
The cap transfers that would start again, would that at all be offset by going after the bond or no?
That would most certainly be the way to do it. Right now, we're probably only in a position to continue at 100,000 and without bond or remaining TMF, there's gonna be a much higher need for that, I would believe, or a lot less projects would be good
We're selling USC.
until that as well. Any of those three would probably be the ticket. Okay, what's next? Update on going out to bid for auditor services. A few meetings back, I think, I was asked just to gather some information from our peers. I sent you a pretty sizable document on that, but for timing's sake and interest's sake, I will probably just read some small summary of it. Most districts keep the same auditor for 5 to 10 years or longer if they feel satisfied with the service. Staying with the same firm provides continuity, efficiencies, and less staff time onboarding new auditors. While changing auditors can be a fresh perspective and different testing methods, many districts noted that the transition requires significant additional time and effort. Several also mentioned that finding audit firms willing to take on new districts at this time can be challenging, so stability with a reliable auditor is often preferred. Some districts review or consider an RFP process every 5 years, but many only changing auditors when necessary. So there are, I think, maybe 8 different schools kind of gave feedback on some of their practices, and I think we are probably okay with staying with them, but.
How long have we been here?
5 years?
Yeah, we're right at 5 years, so.
And a lot of them have had them for 5 to 10, 6 years. We've had ours for over 10 years. The first 2 we had 15 and 4 years. And then they said a lot of schools have been trying to go out and new auditors don't want to take them on. They've been having challenges moving to new auditors. And I've also had 3 requests this week for like a good review of them to other schools and different preschools and entities that are looking to use their services. So I feel like they've probably earned themselves a good reputation. I did attach a note from them that they received a high honor from the Colorado Peer Review Committee. So they're a pretty well-established auditing firm at the moment.
May I ask a question, please? Under the scope of work, so I did this for the town of Georgetown as the man that, did the auditor thing. And their scope of work included things like, did the expenditures match up with the policies? Does our auditor do that? Because I feel like they missed a lot.
They do pull board policies, but I think how we got there, they don't like review the minutes or the presentations or anything to know
No,
that
I
we,
wouldn't think they'd have to. They could see that this number was currently, last year it was, for instance, it was in-house, and then the next year it was it was contracted out. What was the policy that relates to that, and were the approvals in place for that?
yeah, I don't feel like I got too many of those questions.
And I feel like that's where we need the help.
Yeah, I mean, they do look into internal controls and do, interviews with anyone who does the cash handling and things like that, HR and Tammy's position and things like that, but I feel like after our policy work revision and some of the major strides we've made this year with change and hopefully continue to, I don't know, but I could also ask them to make that a forefront of their audit.
I wouldn't say make it a forefront, but just make it a part of everything, because it sounds to me like you're happy with them, right? And you certainly don't want to go through the whole, let's get to know each other process all over again with another entity, give them the feedback you've gotten from so many other districts and the difficulty you might have when you do that. So if you're willing to work with them, of course, I think that should be okay, but I would like to see them give us a little more assurance, because it's checks and balances, right? We're just a board, a volunteer board.
Right.
Right? And so we have done a lot on the financial side, but we've also depended on the auditor to tell us the things that we weren't told,
Okay,
right?
I can absolutely email Lillian and she's our client, so I think she
Right, sure.
can accommodate to whatever our needs are.
I mean, I feel like you know what I'm getting at, that we just need that checks and balances on those particular,
On policy,
especially, yeah, big expenses.
purchasing and policies.
Yeah.
Okay. Pulling in Debt-Free Schools Act. Through your reviews with Kimberly, and then Wes and I met with Bill,
Kimberl.
to kind of share the direction of the survey that we had created. His professional opinion was to go more of his direction, and I think through good conversation and persuasion, we kind of found more of a middle ground, kind of merging the two different perspectives and concepts. So
what she's referring to is that Kimberly, when she met with you all, she asked specific questions through a lens of trying to get a sense where the voters were in their appetite. In his preference, he chooses to go with Tabor-like language that they'll see on the ballot, to share that with them when he asks those questions. So we had to modify some questions since he's the one doing the polling, and so we use his expertise and went with that, but he did take into consideration the remainder of the question that was agreed upon by the board members is embedded in that Tabor-like question.
very, very similar formatting to what you saw when you met with Kimberly. It's more a change of verbiage, context, but I think it still addresses the same questions and needs and may help us to get to a more definitive result of what we're looking for, where we can actually look at these and know that our questions were in no way confusing or misleading, I think, to the voters. And then it's familiar when if we do decide to go that way. So if you think that the survey looks good, I can email Bill tonight the go ahead. There is also the postcard or mailer image, and this stays more true to the design that Kimberly had asked, with access to the correct colors and fonts and things like that.
We did agree that the brochure that was presented at the last board meeting probably was not necessary and was not really telling our story. So we did scrap that, and so we're not having him have that posted on our website or sent out with a link. It's the basically telling our stories and polling questions.
Okay. Good work, guys.
Really hope we get the information.
It does look like, I mean, it's lined out like that.
Okay.
Is it okay to, give Bill the green light on both the survey and the postcard this evening to push forward a publication to keep on our timeline, our extended timeline?
I appreciate the pivot to the postcard. I think we're gonna get much better results. When you receive this in the mail, it usually just.
That's too much.
Yeah. Or I'll read it later, which sometimes in my life means like, oh, I missed the deadline. Whereas the postcard, you're gonna see it
And we're
and,
just gonna
yeah.
put the QR code like on telephone poles and lights and signs and.
I'm gonna wear it.
We're gonna wear it, yes.
I know our
Okay.
community wants to support us and,
Yes.
and our
And we just
educators
have
and our
to-
students. So thank you for the work on talking to Bill and helping him to understand what our concerns were.
I'm really happy with the final results, honestly. I think the pairing of the two was probably like the perfect compromise for me.
Do any other board members have a follow-up or sending that off to Bill to
Looks good to me.
Much
go live?
Huge improvement.
Consensus vote.
I'm just curious how much we're spending on Bill and then Kimberly. Do we need to spend that much?
We already agreed to it.
that.
It's out of our capital.
Yeah, I think that was before we started this process, we got approval. Guys, okay. Final piece. Wes and I met with JCMH a couple of times over the last few months, and Wes and I had kind of a final meeting to really grasp this new concept, but they are proposing a revised billing model, and it's designed to reduce the financial burden on school districts while maintaining student access to mental health services. Currently, the costs are shared 50% between the district and JCMH, which is a Medicaid eligible nonprofit. And under the proposed model, the district would pay a flat rate of $5,000 per 1.0 FTE. For us, that would mean $10,000 annually. And JCMH would bill the students' insurance providers directly for the services rendered. This change would significantly reduce CCSB's annual cost from approximately $81,185 or $83,000 projected for next year to $10,000 while preserving the same level of service. Some districts are setting aside a first-year contingency to support families who may need assistance with co-pays. And it's an option for us to do something similar since we will have cost savings moving to this new model. And it would be the role of JCMH to communicate the billing changes directly to the current families, and the district will reinforce this information through an upcoming community update.
Do you know if JCMH is supporting families in their Medicaid paperwork so that they can bill for that? Because I know that that process is about to get harder and less supported by the county.
They did send a breakdown of the count of how many have Medicaid and private insurance, and then there were a few that maybe are without or with an insurance provider that is not billable income. But
Yeah.
those who would maybe need the assistance, I think between Marie, our Medicaid coordinator, JCMH, they could probably help guide that service.
Just as we've got savings, that might be a piece we've got somebody that we can support, to support those families.
Yeah, I think the re-application is every 6 months, is that correct? It's twice a year? And so I believe they said they would try to make sure they reach out to people in a timely manner to make sure they update their documentation submitted so that they continue to Medicaid services.
Yeah, it's those families that are in between the underinsured, because the state of Colorado does a great job of supporting our students, but if we've got families that don't know how to access CHIP.
Right.
That's the piece that,
Yeah, we have a lot of that,
well, yeah,
communication already through the Medicaid enrollment program. Because to be able to bill for those services, the parents have to, sign release documents and things like that, but I know that Marie probably has a pretty good experience with that, and it might be an option.
it's so easy for students to go in and get services now. And I don't want any student to go without because they didn't fill out the right paperwork. So, or their family got billed because they didn't have an insurance to file.
That's where I think if we decide to go, because this is a new model they're rolling out to schools, I would feel comfortable and happy with maybe having a first year contingency as we transition and parents and families become used to this. I think there's enough cost savings to be able to support some of those costs. But it can't be something that becomes, dependent on, reliable on, because the purpose of shifting to this is for cost savings, while providing the service. Another reason this might be beneficial and helpful is, one of the school health professionals we put our eggs in 2 baskets for grants to be able to bring them back next year, and we only have our egg in 1 basket now. And so if that basket does not come to fruition, we could look into increasing our FTE with them at $5,000 a year, to be able to help supplement with some of the student services lost from the school health professionals that we have if we aren't able to keep them on our staffing.
So JCMH is experiencing significant cuts in school budgets that they serve, and this is their plan to try to use Medicaid to offset the loss of funds, because they know schools still need the services, but as the budgets get tighter and tighter, they want to make sure they try this path to do that.
Oh, it's amazing on their part.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna run into some issues, so if you hear something, we'll keep our ears open. I'll ask the principals to continue to communicate with us. If there are complications, that we will work to see, we'll report to you all so you're aware of it, and then we can make decisions on moving forward.
The principals unanimously said the support services, so just so.
Yeah.
'Cause they don't
Oh,
service us.
yeah. No, we appreciate the services, I just wanna make sure that they remain accessible and,
Right.
maybe it's even in our back to school nights or open houses, that there's someone there that can help with that paperwork. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
This
Or-
sounds, I have a lot of experience with my children in needing supports through the state of Colorado, IEPs, that stuff. And it sounds almost identical to how like the state of Colorado will also bill our private insurance to make up some of those costs.
Mhm.
And then when there's an IEP in place and services are provided through that, your child's automatically enrolled in Medicaid, and then that gets billed as well. So this sounds,
It's like, that's what Maria does for BOCES,
yeah,
is she's helping us access Medicaid funds for students with needs.
yeah,
So that we can provide the exceptional services they need, because that's becoming more of it's an opportunity to help us with the funding, because as I talked earlier, IDEA is not meeting our needs, so we're trying to find ways to make sure we meet those students' needs where we can with funding.
I guess what I'm saying is it's been a breeze working with the state of Colorado and getting IEPs and getting funding. I've never seen a bill, I've never seen a copay. And I would assume if they're structured similarly to the state of Colorado, it's probably gonna work out just fine.
Yeah, private insurance will see copay costs per visit. And it will kind of just vary depending on your provider and your plan. And so I don't want to deter anyone because there will be a copay expense from private insurance, but
Is that something that we could look into potentially offsetting or subsidizing?
that's, I think we could have a contingency during this transition year. Yes, she projected what a contingency might be needed for that kind of support for the copays. And I mean, some copays, it might be $10 or $15, some could be more. It just kind of depends on how often what your insurance is like and how often you need the services, so.
But I just wanted to limit the ability for kids to get services, so is that
Yeah,
something that?
I think that's a priority. Do you have experience, Alicia?
At King Murphy, we have a fund that has gone through our PTA that it's a safe fund, I'm sure you're familiar with it, where if someone is in need, that they can request support. And that would be if there was an incident where maybe an educator could help that family understand this fund is available to offset what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly how it's set up. I don't think it's like a 504, I don't know. Or a 501.
Yeah, I don't know the details.
Yeah,
It's in our newsletter. If you, yeah.
I've heard it's been easy for people to access, but obviously I don't have details.
yeah, I mean, they didn't,
That's one school.
this is a testing pilot. I mean, they haven't rolled this out to any of the districts, but it sounded like the majority of our neighboring districts are going to be shifting to this model.
It doesn't sound like we have a choice, does it? Like they're telling us this is how the changes that they're making? I mean, the choice
It's
we have
how
is that
we
we,
spend that.
right, that we
difference
set aside
results.
money.
Yeah.
Cause I worry about kids who have to pay a copay and their parents are like, don't go in there again because we can't afford this, or, they get upset with them. Cause say it's like, however much a copay would be, I don't know, but,
So I can use discretionary funds to set aside funds for that initially, and then we can monitor and I can report out to you through our reports, budgetary reports, how much is being spent from those discretionary funds, and then you can decide how we want to move forward from there, if that's okay with you all.
Sounds like a solution.
Sounds like a good balance.
Thank you. And then just making folks know that help is there, because,
And we don't want kids turned away.
right.
They did want to know our answer by the end of the month, so we will follow up with Karen next week saying this is probably the model we're going to go to, and then depending on how it goes with school health professional grant, if we get approved for that grant, that will be great, and if we do not, then we might want to look in our buildings and things and see if this is an option to increase our FTE with them.
Thank you. It's just always a little nerve-wracking when something feels too good to be
I mean, I had to
true.
meet with them 3 times to make sure I really understood and asked all of the questions, and
So that's it. I'm just like, there's gotta be I'm just worried about a gap. So if your kid has an IEP, that's one thing, but what about a student that hasn't been identified and is, we've got those. So anyhow, I'm just trying to see what, it would be great if nothing was missing. Yeah.
The money's coming more from the insurance companies than from the state of Colorado.
Right.
Which,
either Medicaid and private insurance will be paying, or we will.
But right now, we're not charging copays.
We do not charge companies.
That's the big one.
There is a shift to it.
but legally, I don't think you can not charge a copay. I think you have to have a copay. So if you
It just depends on what plan you're on, and every family's different. So,
Great.
This is all new, so we're trying to,
oh yeah.
this is something other districts have been doing for a while, but we're new to this, and so we are actually, in a way, piloting for our partner districts through our BOCES to kind of lead the way. I think Platte Canyon currently does it, correct?
I don't think anybody's doing it. I think Jeffco, Gilpin, and Platt would be the ones moving to the structure.
Right.
Those are the ones named.
For the counseling services.
Oh, yes,
What Maria is doing, I believe Pat Klein is doing it right now, correct? We're doing it, and so.
The Medicaid reimbursement,
Yes, for
Okay.
special ed students.
yeah, so that's a little different than,
But that's new too. Because we're pursuing those funds we haven't done in the past, so we've
Right.
lost access to those funds, so now we're gonna pursue those funds. So we get the services the kids need and using that as a resource for providing those services.
so yeah, thank you for working with
Right.
Maria on those reimbursements, because, yeah, they were sitting there. They were
We were-
available, but it took time, so I was grateful for the grant, so that
yes.
you could be onboarded, trained, or we could decide to keep Maria.
She does a big job,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It was absolutely far more than I was able to take on this first year. So thank God for her. Yeah, and we do have, additional revenue from that we created like an LSP for, to potentially offset some costs, but this might be one of those things that falls into it. That could also be a way to help support the co-pays as we transition. I think it's maybe.
You know, talk forestry or government things I don't hear.
What's that?
The forest.
Oh.
Oh, I think I'll do that when I go into the high-level SFA,
Perfect.
but we can talk about maybe confer results first before we move into that piece.
No, I'll let you go first since it's sequenced in the outline that way. So you go ahead
Yeah,
and
it
give us,
says high level.
yeah, so if you'll give us the budget discussion first and then I'll give the feedback that was collected through the meet and confer.
Okay,
And then we'll have the conversation.
okay, sure.
um,
Will you pull up the PDF that is high-level SFA without?
So you're gonna get the funding for looking at compensation. We're looking through two lenses. We currently are getting funding from the US Forest Service. And we're taking it through the lens, it's one-time payment every time we receive that. Because we can't guarantee that we're gonna get that every year.
And we don't know if we're getting it this year. Or
See,
is that why it's
When
with
should
and
we
without?
find out?
Yeah,
Right, so if it goes, we don't know about next year. Because we're planning to receive ours coming up, I believe, is correct, we're supposed to in June, is that what you were telling me?
the funds are at the county now. How much we receive is a variable. I do have some support documents that lead me to believe we are going to receive comparable to what we received last year. But I do not.
Because they benefit by giving us the money, right?
Say, they can't send, if they don't give it to us, they have to send it back.
Yeah.
Like,
Is kind of the,
County Road and Bridge,
say, that it does get split, there's a couple
Right.
different ways that they can spend it. They have a fixed amount that they have to give to the school district. But then there's this discretionary amount, which can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's the piece that is always the unknown. So maybe that needs to be added to our commissioner conversation next month.
yeah, the last 2 years, we've budgeted, 144,000 in revenue. And I think it was, a board member, perhaps it was Kelly, who said, that money is uncertain, do not keep depending on it as ongoing revenue. And at that time, they were having discussions and they did pause and reduce the allocation. But in December of 2025, they reauthorized the program. And this includes the current year funding and retroactive payments from prior years, which could result in higher than normal one-time revenues this year. And while the districts anticipate receiving a portion of these funds, timing and allocation amounts remain dependent on the county's distribution. I have prodded Carol like 3 times, but the website where they can access this had crashed and was out of service for a while, and they weren't able to get there or get me a number, but she says, I do have the funds, we have received them, I just don't know what that number is. And this program is, the reauthorization is through FY '26. And we received the funding in arrears, so even for this year, we would receive this year's payment as well as in payment next spring as well. And they are taking it back, the bill back to get reauthorized again for FY '27 forward, but I can't count on it as ongoing revenue at this point. As I know, there is a high likelihood we are going to get it this year and next. So this first scenario is assuming, because this, I didn't figure that out until midnight 2 nights ago, and I just went down a deep rabbit hole because I couldn't sleep not knowing if we were getting this money or not. And I kind of went to every federal forest website that I could find to just get someone to promise me we were getting it and a retroactive payment, but nobody would promise me that. So this is gonna be the scenario in which we account for only the $144,000 that was budgeted. This first scenario, it's kind of hard to see, but this is only taking into consideration the move to the classified schedule. So we have 30, oh, will you scroll back up? I'm
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. That 34,985, that's estimated increase from total program funding. And that's straight from CDE, based on the run that they did in January. I received an email today that they are not going to reproduce any more runs until after tomorrow. But it didn't look like any of the things that were in consideration were actually going to affect us. So I feel pretty confident with this as the scenario here. And then the mill levy inflation from the 2018 mill levy is looking to be like another $1,000 in additional revenue. So 36,000 in expected revenue gain in '27. A reduction in admin position also would generate an additional 50,000 in ongoing revenue. So that would be a total of 86,000. And then we're gonna start plugging in some of the scenarios in this section of the workbook. The cost to move to the new classified schedule, salary schedule with no step, would be $30,000. And as a result,
35, right?
35 was the increase in income from this
Oh,
state.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and
Then,
we would have an unallocated fund gain of 56,000. So you take the fund balance from 25, and then based on the proposed budget, which you guys will get to see at the next meeting, FY '26 is actually projected to end in a gain position of 236,000. I think when we when we adopted the budget, it was estimated to have a $154,000 loss, so. I have a whole list of notes that I'll go into, and I'll do that during the proposed budget. But there's a calculation workbook that has different pieces that came into this puzzle, and which pieces of them are one-time and ongoing. So that's where there's a combination of one-time and ongoing projected gain. And then the estimated fund balance, and those numbers aren't going to be exactly what you see in the audit because they're the unassigned, so they take out the prepaids and the Tabor 3%. So if you look at the audit, it will match a line of it, but it's not gonna be the bottom dollar line that your eyes are gonna be immediately drawn to. So then we have an estimated fund balance of 6.1. With that projected ongoing, you see the running fund balance estimate along the bottom. And so that would be putting our fund balance in an incremental grow every year. And that is only assuming current revenues and expenditures, and if you weren't giving additional increases on FY 26 or 27, 28, 29. So that's just this assumption only, how it would grow our fund balance. The next one, all the stuff at the top is gonna be the same, and we can just keep scrolling down into that workbook where we were putting in some other assumptions. Actually, we went up a little bit. So here, this one is going to be on the cost of a step. So you see the certified step cost, and then the next one is going to be moving to the new salary schedule for classified, as well as the cost of a step for classified. And then this put a 2.5% COLA on admin. They don't get steps in a salary schedule, but a step is a 2.5. So this is just, in every scenario, it's on all staff. The workbooks are there so we can calculate and do different math and scenarios if you're interested. But this gives easy numbers that you can just multiply times 2 or 1 or 1.5 or like that. And so the total cost for a step and moving to the new classified schedule would be $200,000. The result would be an ongoing deficit of $114,000, bringing our fund balance in FY 27 to $6 million, still clearly above the $4.7 million in recommended cash that you would need available to cover the fund balance. And then you can see the change there. Even in 5 years, that wouldn't put us in a position where we'd be below that amount, the 4.7, but that's again, assuming no increases in any of those years.
What's the student count on this assumption?
It is down 24.5
I think
on
that's very good
averaging, with the
information.
averaging. It's not 24.5 students, it's higher than that, but that's after the averaging has been the 3-year average.
So that's us taking into account that we're gonna get basically 25 more students.
I think it was taking into account that we maybe have a loss of 35, but with averaging, it'd be the 24.5.
If we get average.
Have those conversations.
Today it sounded like the averaging was going to be implemented.
They're doing 3 scenarios:
I know. It's
smoothing,
scary.
averaging, and 95% of total program.
But these numbers are we're assuming we're losing,
loss.
like we're not,
That will
Budgeting.
continue to decline.
yeah, we're not budgeting on our numbers right now. Right?
We're budgeting on what we anticipate the numbers being next
Next
year.
Okay.
Yeah, right, it's the most
I think that's very
recent
helpful.
run
Yes.
from CDE that was released.
Okay.
Based on the School Finance Act, so,
There's an incredible amount of variables.
Oh, yeah.
correct, every
Yeah.
bit of every single thing that I do is a lot of variables. There is a lot of math and facts and science to it, and then there is a lot of unknown.
And there's
I
so
do
many
not have the magic
unknowns.
8 ball, and I can look at trending and information that is out there and make the best assumptions and estimates.
Just to it's the same thing. I mean, there's so many unknowns for us. Like we're being asked to make a decision before we know half of the picture, you know? We won't know the things that we need to know to build our budget until after we're forced to build a budget.
Yeah, it's the timing on
It's stupid.
it is just very we should be a year in advance. We should be looking at the next year.
Right.
Or not starting our budget till the fall and this is where I started.
That's
Just-
my vote.
I think it'd make more sense, all of the things, you'd know what grants you have, you would know,
What your count is.
yeah, I mean, besides you would.
Yeah.
I know.
That would be,
Just-
that would
and
be
you
a
just
sweet
Be
spot.
mindful in your first quarter of what you're
Right.
doing.
Right.
But then you have to make mid-year staff cuts if you did assume wrong, and that's also unpleasant, so I don't know. Wins and loses and upside downs to all of it, or maybe we just start running January, your first of the year. I'll change the whole school calendar.
In the state budget process. You have to meet in the fall and some in the spring.
See, there's no way. So this is what we're left with, but, I
In
with
addition,
the information at hand and lots of digging and research, I feel this is a confident presentation and representation of what it is likely to look like.
so,
Yeah.
going back to the polling, it's really important for community, parents, all involved to understand that we desperately need additional funding to make sure that we provide the compensation our staff deserves, that we provide safe schools. We address the $20 million of deferred maintenance that we have across the district. So these are
And
all
if we
things-
get that, that provides a little bit of a buffer on
It gives us a longer runway.
Yeah.
So what it does is it gives us, the scenarios give us much more time to not be so quickly dwindling our funds down to, and we can take care of those things. We can also provide money for CTE. We have a number of students who would love to participate in Warren Tech CTE that we're now having to limit because of funds. So these are all challenges we're facing.
Are there grants, another grant that we can apply for CTE, Warren Tech?
I think we applied for, one last spring that we did not get. I think their funding gets cut, so then the number of applications and the asks decrease and the number of applicants decrease as well. But
Yeah,
yes.
on that subject, Lori, totally not financial, but if any Warren Tech, Red Rocks, if we hear of any ceremonies that I get to attend, those are the ones I wanna go to. Please. Thank you.
Okay, so this one, basically, the cost is 114. And then this one is a 1% COLA for all staff, and all assumptions are that we moved to the classified schedule, so that's built into each one of these little workbooks. And a 1% COLA costs 105,000 and would, because we have 86,000 in incoming revenue, the difference between the two is 19,000 loss. Okay, final scenario, and all of these are just 1% for easy math, not to push that as the recommendation, it's just a math. This scenario is a flat rate, $1,000 stipend, compensation increase. You can see the different breakdowns, what it costs for certified, classified, admin. And if you could scroll in a little bit further, the total cost for that, one time is the majority of it. The ongoing piece would be moving to the classified salary schedule would be the only bit of it that's ongoing. The rest, the 100,000, 105 would be one-time dollars. If we move to this, it would give us a projected loss, and that just means dip into your revenue or dip into your fund balance, your reserves. That's what that would be, is a 48,000 dip into the reserves. And then you can see every scenario we've ran so far does not put us at a risk of being at that minimum in 5 years, so.
Assuming all of our expenses stay the same.
And assuming that we do not get compensation increases the rest of the years, because you're not putting those into that running total at the bottom, because we don't know what to put in there yet. This is just the information from the School Finance Act, so you know where my numbers came from, and that I did not just pick them out of the hat. You scroll down a little bit, there's just a calculation workbook. This is how I got the 35,000, oops, go a little bit more. there. The 34,986 is the increase, and then on my own side is how I came up with the $1,000 mil increase. And so maybe now I will switch to sharing. If we want to play with some of the different scenarios with the assumption of federal forest funds.
This looks better.
When I do the Chrome tab, it doesn't have my document. Wait, do you have to open a new tab? Like that? When I do it?
No, you have to go to the what's it called? Yep. Yep. And then you have to stay here, but it should. Yeah. Oh, but then you can make it bigger or. It's still there. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, can you guys see that? I mean, you have your own copies in front of you. It's really kind of tiny. So knowing that I'm hopeful we can receive a retroactive federal forest payment for prior years.
What do you mean by that? Like, were there years that we didn't get it?
They set it at
correctly.
70% setup. So in FY '23, we received $634,000. In FY '24, we received $404,000. In FY '25, we received $434,000.
So does that mean they calculated it wrong and they owe us, or I guess I'm not getting what you're saying?
From what I
Speak
read, it
it
was
out.
because they put a pause on it, because they maybe don't have enough, I don't know, they put it on pause and gave everybody a 70% cut instead.
And then never revisited it.
Right, so then
Okay.
in December of '25, so a few months ago, they said you have to do retroactive payments, and yes, you're getting your '25 payment in '26, and yes, you're gonna get your '26 payment in '27. And then after that, we gotta revisit it. That's all it's authorized for. So the retroactive is something I've kind of put out of my mind because I can't deny or confirm that. I cannot find something that makes me feel really warm and fuzzy that it's coming. So I'm just going to assume a regular annual payment is going to come, and it said that it would be very much in line with prior year. So last year we received 434. So in this assumption, I'm gonna plug in 290,000 because we have 144 budgeted, and that'll put us in line with what we received last year. Anything else would be cherry on the cake. But this funding currently, since it's only authorized for another year, or through this year, really, it should be treated as one-time funding due to the timing and the program uncertainty. And yeah, I guess until it's determined, I mean, this funding has come for years and years, so it should eventually move to reliable revenue, but until it gets reauthorized, I think it's safe to treat it as one time this year and next until we have confirmation of a different direction.
Do you know when they go to reauthorize or how long they're looking to?
No, I was going to go look that up while I was sitting there, but I ran out of time, but I think it's this fall.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think by then we could know, and before we adopt the budget, we probably will have insight from Carol, is my thought. But the payments can be sometimes received as late as June, so we might have to take a leap of faith. Okay, so plugging that in, And the second PowerPoint that's in your packet has all of this. And I apologize, my version is not cleaned up because I tidied up yours, but left mine like a mess with my calculations. So when you plug that in, then we have revenue gain of 325,000, because you're gonna assume the 36,000 from the mill and the new finance, or the total program funding estimate. And then we also have additional revenue from savings, staff reduction. Your total assumption then could be 376 of new monies. And then if we only move to the classified salary schedule, we would have an ongoing gain of 346,000.
When you say gain, it's more of an expense?
A gain would
No.
be, we
Or
would be growing our fund balance by that
Oh,
each
I
year.
see, gotcha. I wasn't following.
I know. Okay, then same thing on a step. All the monies less the expense of a step or a 2.5 COLA for admin, it would be it says gain on yours, it says loss on mine because I didn't revise mine since this is my calculation workbook. But this would be also a gain. You'd be operating at a gain of 175,000 each year. So you can see your fund balance there on the bottom, just growing.
actually isn't.
Decreases.
Oh, because this is just the calculation workbook. On the hard copies, the PDFs you guys have, it should be. Is it not?
No.
On the federal, are you on the one with the federal forest funds?
Yes.
And the amount at the bottom's not growing? Okay, Aaron calculation workbook. Let me see what cell it's referencing.
I guess I'm trying to reconcile in my mind
Okay.
what it looks like with, and you're lining it out with the 30 less students. What expenses are we whittling away to come up with a increase every year based on your assumptions? There has to be something that's giving. When we're getting less money for students in your projection.
Is the forestry money, it's offsetting that?
Well, the total program funding, when we had GCS at the current count, it was actually going to be a loss of $8,000. But when we moved GCS down to 58 count, which is the number Sammy provided me, it ends up benefiting the district. And then, because we get more of the money instead of passing it through.
Right.
So then we get this $34,000 gain.
But then at the very bottom of your documents, you have a per pupil funding for 25, 26, and then an estimated 26 and 27, so the per pupil funding actually goes up.
So in 25, 26, our total program funding, that's estimated by the state was 8.07 million. And then
I was just looking at the very last column on those,
on
the per pupil funding factor.
are you on the last tab, the school finance?
Yeah.
What I'm on right now?
Yeah, the last column in like the teal section.
Uh-huh.
Column N, sorry.
Yeah, so the
Sure.
PPR
Will actually go up.
is increasing.
Okay.
The funding
I
is
think that's where the
increasing
difference is.
from,
That's increasing, but then our potential is decreasing.
The
yeah,
number of students.
right, you can see the actual funded count for this year was 585.4. The estimated one for 26, 27 is 557.9.
I think each one, we get a little bit more.
but the fully funded total programming does increase. And this isn't my calculation, this is, straight out of the last run provided by CDE. So those are the assumptions that are in here. That's where I put that calculation is where I get this 34, and then the mill is gonna inflate, $1,000, and then I'm assuming federal forest money, and I'm assuming, the new monies that can be brought forward is just from, one position that was eliminated and not, replaced, and it's just a portion of it that was on the general fund. So if we did a step, I believe we would still be in a position where we were operating at a gain. If we do a COLA, we're still operating at a gain. That gain will be up to 270. And then the one-time expense of $1,000 cost $135, as well as adopting the new classified schedule, would still have us operating at a gain.
So for fiscal year 28, what's the student count calculation on that one? Or 29, or are we just going with the -30 on all of those?
It would flat, it wouldn't have any change.
She said it would go down 24.5 every year.
For next year, but I don't
Just for next,
think,
I haven't calculated out.
at the bottom, it's
the
not
future
showing
years.
us change in student number.
So that's just your fund balance increasing or decreasing based on the projected loss or gain. That's, you don't assume, I'm not assuming anything, that's saying our revenue, our expenditures are staying the same, and you're not giving any other compensation increase in 27, 28, 29, 30. The assumption is just what this year's impact would be ongoing to our fund balance.
So if your spreadsheet, if this PDF was right, you're saying that at the bottom, the running fund balance should be increasing.
Now that I've plugged this in, yes, but on the document that,
So we can just assume based on, this would be, the page I'm on is, it's the 2.5 COLA admin, it's that one, that's 201,193, is the total salary and benefit ongoing.
but is
And
it
so it says,
is it the one that has the 290 plugged in at the very top in the third?
Yeah.
It does.
and so the ongoing is 201,193, and then when you go to the little square FY 27 over allocated funds, so it's saying projected, one-time and ongoing gain is 175,172 and 66 cents. So can we assume that the figures at the bottom are increasing by 175,000?
Yeah, you can see here on the calculation workbook, it is doing that for me. I apologize if your PDF isn't doing that. Do you see how it's
Yeah,
exponentially
yeah.
growing? Okay.
So that makes me feel so much better.
Yes. I don't know.
Yeah,
I literally
that's
just converted this into a
I think
PDF.
it's capturing without the 290.
Yeah.
So why
I
that
said
didn't
two
change
different
when you
ones,
added
one with
it.
and one
but-
without, and it blows my mind that the one with is not, because I just converted these to PDF, but I don't know. I had to have Tammy do it because Adobe was mad at me. Need to do some updates. But yes, so, I mean, this would be increased ongoing to your fund balance. So I don't know if you,
And that's assuming then that we get the 430.
yeah,
For-
so that's where I only put in
which-
290 because 144 is already budgeted for and assumed for.
But we're really only feeling secure in that for 2 years.
Yeah, this year and the next
Okay.
spring.
That's
But
where things
these-
get wobbly.
yeah. But these numbers at the bottom would be assuming that
Same.
400 and change every year. So that could change. So,
Correct.
yeah, so it's
It's
beyond
the crystal ball.
28 forward.
Yeah, I don't like
It
this
is
total
hard to-
running balance. I mean, we did it for what the debt-free schools would actually do. And there was, I mean, it was a lot of calculation workbook. And I think that might be more helpful to this and put in assumptions each year and enrollment declines each year. And you might get more of an idea, but even then, we don't know what school finance is gonna look like in a few years. We don't know what our revenue streams, how they could change. We don't know what enrollment's gonna do. So I mean, making all of these assumptions is really just playing pretend. I mean, I think we just gotta take the information that's at hand for this year and make our best decision with that.
Does anybody disagree that we shouldn't do a certified salary schedule this year? We're all on that same page.
Revised classified.
Classified.
Classes, thank you.
We knew what you meant.
Okay, yeah.
So if I click on a different document, is it coming?
It should, if you have to unshare and reshare.
I don't want it to show.
She wants to crunch some numbers.
Okay, so I don't know. This would be my recommendation if, everybody feels like it's safe to assume we're gonna get the federal forest dollars. I sent 2 different documents to you both from the federal forest, website and another very reputable source that I can't remember the name of right now, that support this claim of mine. So my recommendation would be, since the federal forest funds are only certain for the next 2 years, I think of those as one-time revenue until we get a different direction that is going to be an ongoing source of revenue. I think it would be wise to treat it as one-time revenue. The cost of moving to the new classified salary schedule costs $30,000. That's ongoing expense. To do a 1% COLA on all employees would be $105,000 ongoing. And if we did a one-time stipend of $200,000, the cost would be $270,000, 712 one-time expense. So taking that new money of $290,000 for the federal forest funds that I think of as one-time dollars and applying it against a one-time stipend expense seems to make sense to do a one-time expense versus a one-time revenue. And then the additional revenue that we saw, that $86,000, could be used to help offset the cost of a 1% COLA moving to the new classified salary schedule. And then moving to the new classified salary schedule and 1% COLA would result in a $19,000 301 ongoing fund balance decrease. And if we're assuming 290 additional in forest funds and 270,000 in one-time stipend, that deficit would be covered for the next 2 years, assuming that that is the money that we receive. So we wouldn't see any impact to our fund balance until FY28. If or when federal forest funds terminate. If the federal forest funds came in higher, we could use that money to increase our fund balance or to consider an additional retention stipend mid-year. If the debt-free schools mill levy passed, we could meet again mid-year and consider doing a mid-year step increase once we confirm an ongoing revenue stream. Since step would be ongoing expense, it'd be nice to have the Debt-Free Schools Act mill pass where we could then start offering steps without fear, because we know that we would have enough revenue incoming to be able to do steps each year and hold us.
And if it did pass, I would recommend that the board, if it does for a ballot measure and it passes, that we then have this process again in December, January, to look at future projection of funds so that we can get teachers and staff on track for ongoing compensation.
And we have the ability to amend our budget anytime we want.
Right.
We just have to make that first one at the end.
I'm sorry, Jen, can you say that in bullet points, just your recommendation, so you're
Okay.
recommending new salary schedule
I am recommending
at a cost of $30,437.
37,000. I can share this. Let's see. All right. My hidden notes for myself, but, so classified salary schedule move is 30,000. COLA is 105,667.
And that's COLA for
1% on everybody.
1%.
Um,
And it's,
and there is ongoing revenue increase of the 87,000 from the 36 from the total program funding, $1,000 from the mill, and then cost savings from staff reduction is 86 to cover this ongoing increase. The stipend, if we did a $2,000 stipend, would cost $270,000 one time. And that kind of, in my head, would be offset by the $290,000 increase to the federal federal forest dollars. And the difference between those two is like $20,000, which could also be used to offset the difference of 19,301, at least for 2 years. There is a scenario where we could get this retroactive payment, and it could be like 200 or 400,000, or it could be zero. And that's the hard part. So I just think we have to leave that out of the picture until something swings one way or the other. But that could be the incentive for a mid-year increase, or if the Debt-Free Schools Act, then it could be, instead of a stipend, it could one time, it could be a step, because we have a confirmed line or stream of incoming revenue.
So if we were to choose or to want to see the numbers for, let's say, the classified salary schedule, the new one, and then a 2% for certified and classified, I think that gets us that ongoing of 200 and some thousand.
Yes. So a 2%, you want to know what a 2% COLA?
Yes,
Okay.
for both classified and certified.
Step or COLA?
Or I'm sorry, step.
Oh,
You went to 2.5%?
Yeah,
that, the
I went to
2.5 is
2.5.
201.
Right, okay.
That is also giving the admin a 2.5, because I just wanted every number to be consistent where you can do the math, so.
But we don't have to.
So you're saying,
No, they don't have to all be the
so the
same.
admins to,
Is a step for everyone else.
basically for a step, but we can't call it that.
We did the calculation on a $60,000 salary. If we gave a step, you would get $1,500. If we do this scenario on a $60,000 salary, you would get $2,600. So $1,100 more than a step.
Right.
It's one time, yes, but we have the hopes of being able to move to a position where we can start doing steps with a confirmed revenue or a right sizing or a budget. I'm projecting to end 26 in a positive. I'm projecting to end 27 in a positive position, which means we are working towards right sizing our budget. Our revenue is starting to exceed our expenditures through a number of different factors, but we've had 7 years of dip into reserves, and 2 years I'm projecting growth.
this is just my opinion, but whatever we end up deciding, I guess next time when we go over the budget or everything, but I think we need to do what we can, because we didn't do anything last year. And so I think it's really important, without putting ourselves in a situation in the future I think we really need to do anything and everything that we can.
Could we consider a tighter number on the amount above cash recommended?
I mean, I saw our safe get pretty low in January.
I don't think so.
No,
Because then if we get too low, then we're taking a loan and we're paying interest. So then there's no way we can,
recoup.
recoup it.
A payroll cycle is 800,000 on the months that don't have coaches and sponsors. I mean, just our monthly is about that much. And when we're not getting that payment and we've spent down all year and made those payroll payments and our check runs each month, 3 times a month, it gets down to kind of a scary place where I feel like that number is set with good intention.
How much of the one-time payment, do teachers actually see?
I don't know what the taxes are on,
It's high. It's like 40%.
Much higher.
versus 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still feel like it's more money in their pocket today, more instant gratification, but and it does, the salary schedule, people at the lower end of the pay scale are gonna get a $2,000 increase, people at the higher end of the pay scale are also gonna get the $2,000, so it kind of helps out where when you do percents and COLAs, the classified grows a lot slower. You don't see as much of the benefit from the percent increases. But if you're doing the 1% COLA, it at least helps the people who are looking at their retirement and their para, things like that. You're kind of getting to play for both ends of the scale through this. But there is money to support either decision, even if you want to look at a step. It would just have to be a leap of faith, I'd say more than anything, or an act knowing that there is a good chance we're going to immediately start dipping into our reserves after 2 years.
How many years have we received the federal forest?
I went back to 2020, but it has been around since 2001, but I don't know how long we've received them.
I think we've received them every year. We're pretty forest heavy, but I know that Willie, who was, he was very, very, very conservative. He counted them as one-time funds all the
I
time.
mean, that statement came from not just me. To treat it that way, especially with the uncertainty we just saw the last few years ago where it did get put on pause, then reduced. I mean, it's kind of hard to just count that as your one time. A lot of people do use those. They come out at the very end of the year once everything's already tidied up and buttoned as their way of growing fund balance. But we're not in that position and we're looking to use that could be growing our fund balance as an opportunity to compensate the staff.
I do have one question for you, Kristen. How many people are at or near the top of the pay schedule?
For,
More than 5?
for certified and classified.
Mm-hmm. The step wouldn't make a difference too.
Yeah, I saw like 4, 5.
Okay.
Total, or, I was gonna say it's less than 5 on each.
I think it
But
was.
that's where the
there weren't
COLA
very
makes
many
a
at all.
difference to everyone,
Mhm.
whereas the step really does, it actually affects some people. So that's something to think about as well.
I mean, I think this is a good way of giving everybody a good piece of money. I think knowing that mid-year, if this election passes, the step would be a part of it, so you'd be getting a stipend, a step, and a COLA. But it's not putting us in a dangerous position without knowing.
It'd be at mid-year, so that they would receive it as soon as it was approved.
So that's my recommendation, and then,
I mean, is that something we'd be willing to say, I mean, I know this is public, but more publicly? Because I think that
That'll be part of our outreach to the community and also part of Wes's outreach during his meeting.
I shared that during the meet and confer, that this is where we are right now, the snapshot. My hope is that if the ballot measures passed, then we would look at a long-range plan, so people could count on certain, because it would be, the money would be there for the long range.
Mhm. We can
I
plan
think
for
if
that.
we put it more publicly that we want to do a mid-year adjustment if we do get the pass mill.
I think I would
I'm-
expect, yes.
I'm comfortable with saying that out loud.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
When we,
And I think the more people that hear it, the better, as far as like, let's put it there so we can be put out in the town square if we don't follow through, you know?
Right.
You know, to show that we really do intend, if that's the route we go, I think that's important.
there's a ton of great things that come from Debt Free Schools Act, but the one reason to choose that instead of any of the other special mills or bond is it's the one that has the leverage to free up general fund dollars for compensation. So I think that sharing that information is not in any way harmful and only helpful. And the staff see that the work that we're doing and how much we care and that we want to get.
Nick, the amount of feedback that I have gotten from staff is that they would prefer a staff over anything. But I'm curious, Wes, what you've gotten, but I think you're going to tell us the feedback that you've gotten and what staff.
Yeah, I'll share what they said here, so yes,
Okay.
what you're inferring is correct.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of nuances with what Jim said here and what Jessica said just a minute ago. There's some nuances to where you're on the scale and the steps, how that you receive that, but I will share that information.
So next presentation will be the proposed budget. It is written with the assumption only of moving to the classified salary schedule. We have a meet and confer scheduled third week in May, so I think knowing the direction of the board and being able to share that information with the staff, and somewhere between the proposed and the adopted, so I have time to revise the proposed into whatever compensation you're thinking before the adopted would probably be most beneficial for all.
So we're hoping that by May 12th, we get an idea what your direction of the board is looking and going, and that would drive us to have conversations the next meeting for. We're hopeful that all staff will come to the table and meet with us and talk about what we're proposing and give us feedback so that we can then give that to you on the 21st when you make your final decision.
If you want to email me, what about if this scenario with different percentages, where do we end? Or what does it look like of this or that? Or you want to come sit with me one or two at a time and play with this book until you get to the number that seems right or feels right. But I think for now that my recommendation is to keep it sometime while trying to reserve an opportunity to honor the step.
So am I clear, your recommendation is to go with the classified salary schedule, do the 1% across the board?
And a 2001.
A one-time $2,000 stipend.
For everybody?
So I'd like
What?
to actually jump in.
Yeah.
And, I would need some clarification on the stipend.
Yeah.
Just because the years that I've been here, we've given various stipends. So
Right.
do we want to call it a stipend for everybody? Do we
Or a
want to
bonus.
call it a bonus? I mean, it shows up as stipend in the system,
Right.
but do you want to give it to everybody in, like, on the September paycheck? Do you want to give it to teachers, educators, staff who are here now and return next year? That would exclude any new hires that we hire who are just joining the district. So there's different factors to
I
consider.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we split it and do it 1,000 now and 1,000 as like a retention bonus?
I don't think you could do it now because it's next year dollars.
It's, yeah,
But I mean,
Like September
Yeah,
and
that's
December.
what I
We've done that before.
like a 1,000
Once you
there.
verify that they're hanging out.
Yeah.
Right.
and
But in,
that would obviously
in
change the
January, we should
number
be talking again.
True.
to the side.
Just, yeah, you're giving 1,000 for a full year and then 1,000 for half the year, so it's different, it's just, so you know.
Yeah, and then it gets taxed at 40-some%.
Correct.
So they're ending up with like $600. I'm sorry, I mean, that's an exaggeration.
And you put aside-
That's not the right math.
That's Just then if you're getting it to everybody or employees who are here
Right.
now, that.
I think the stipend makes things difficult. I don't think people appreciate it. They don't want it. I mean, it's not what they're looking for. I think that they would, personally, I think they'd like to see it, if we're gonna go with the COLA, they'd like to see the increase in COLA as opposed to that stipend, right? Even though they're both one-time things, it gets them to a percentage.
The COLA's
The COLA's
Yeah,
ongoing.
No, the COLA's ongoing, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the revenue might be ongoing. It might be one time.
Right.
I mean, I agree with that, but I also think we're doing what we can with what we've got without committing to ongoing forever dollars.
If we commit to ongoing, we'll just know that if an additional revenue source doesn't come in, to be able to sustain it, we would have to right-size our budget in other ways.
So we right-sized, what, 300,000 this year?
You're saying 2 years is when you would have to really consider that?
So that gives us 2 ballot years, right? If we fail the first time, we shoot again. We're not going to, but if we do, that gives us an opportunity for the next year as well to do a better job if it ends up like that.
We, as long as the federal first ones come in, we have time to make the changes based on what the current state would be then, yes. And we have enough fund balance to support that decision where we wouldn't be immediately having to go get a loan because of that decision if some funding didn't come in or something like that.
Right. If we could in any way, I feel, I would feel better about it. And I think our numbers are showing that we won't be pickleized because of it. I would prefer to see a 2% COLA
A 2% COLA and,
And no stipend?
on no stipend,
no stipend,
no stipend. I would rather
and
do
no
that.
step,
What?
no step
No
either?
step.
Oh, I feel like we would have more room in the revenue than that.
Okay, I'm looking at this one that kind of has that lined out with the 1%, doesn't have the stipend on it. And it shows us at the 105 ongoing. And we discussed if we did the 2%, it would be somewhere around 200,000 ongoing. And I think if I'm looking at the map, it doesn't get us into the nasty cash thing.
Yeah, because that 1% costs 100,000, but we have, this is assuming the federal force ones, right? 370.
So yeah, I'm going off of this sheet and just adding another percentage.
Just times 2.
Yeah, so times 2, oops,
And the sheet I'm looking at doesn't show a stipend or,
so then we would still be at a gain of 165,000.
so, and I think that that's
2%?
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
at times 3%, we would still be operating at a gain of 59,000.
but that's still line. That's pretty close to that line, right? Without,
Without dipping into our reserves. That
right,
would be,
exactly.
be operating at a gain. And if federal force came even like 30,000 less, that number would change, decrease, whatever.
I would love to see a 2%, and then when we
What about-
pass our mill, then we give them another consideration at that time as well.
Right, and then just want you to know, this is not a district recommendation, this is just, what she's presenting is just a conversation starter, so. just-
Yeah, of course.
I don't want
Of
people
course.
leaving the meeting saying, this is what the district, this is just.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
To be able to see the calculation workbook and
Right.
play, here, let me, I'm sorry.
But yes, we would, I strongly believe, I'm really hopeful that our community will pass a ballot measure. And I really do want to have this process start again in December, January to
Mhm.
revise the budget with additional funds. So we can put a long-range planning of the compensation, so people could then expect that going forward, so that we don't have the annual
I'm just curious, like, what does that look like for you? We don't, just quick snapshot of what you're,
We would set out steps and COLA for staff going forward.
that, like, you stay, you're guaranteed this.
And if we get increases, we can come back to the table, but I want to have a runway where people can say, I'm gonna buy a home, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do this, I'm gonna invest in whatever, that they can say, I can project on the road that that's what I'm gonna be, so we're not doing this every year, causing the frustration that you mentioned earlier in your presentation, which will be related to that might be deferred. Because people need some kind of normalcy, consistency, they like that, because there's so many things that are volatile right now, and I'd like to have at least 3-5 years to say, okay, this is it, and then in 5 years, we can do another 5 years.
And that's how we're plotting out our efforts on that front, is that we get it
Definitely.
to that level.
Right.
And however much we can get it to that level.
And I would like to make it like, we honor their years of service, we honor the fact that cost of living is going up, and we make sure that we take care of people.
I have morbid curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Could you plug in a step and a 3% COLA?
That would be too much, but I could plug in a step and a 1%, so the step's 201. Take that out of 3. 105.
And that's with the classified schedule too.
Yeah. We would, with a 1%, a step and a 1% COLA, we would still be operating at a positive gain, 70,000.
I'm just curious what it would look like at 3%, even if it is too much.
Um, 17. Then we would go to operating at a deficit of 141,000 ongoing. Ongoing was the,
Yeah.
But like you said, we have a couple of years.
Not with
Not
that.
with
40
Yeah,
deficit.
Not when
would
you're in
be
a
like-
deficit.
and then we'd be like,
Yeah,
close
no,
to school. We don't want to get,
we don't wanna start
no,
thinking
gotta-
that we're
gotta
paying
have
a
a
deficit.
long
But I would
term.
like to have that conversation in December, January, to make sure that that's a reality.
That's,
Right.
if we can confirm this revenue or this revenue or this revenue, then that completely can paint this picture, but taking that kind of cliff dive without any kind of, knowing what the voters are gonna do, I don't think would be wise. And then 10, I think, would be the 2%. You'd just then be operating at an ongoing deficit of 34,000. So that's a COLA and a 2%.
And no raises next
I
year,
mean, a step and a 2%.
and no raise next year.
Unless we pass it out this year.
Right.
Yeah, because then
Then we're,
next year you're operating at a $450,000 deficit,
right,
plus whatever you increase.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge, the ongoing is what makes a huge difference, so.
I still like the 2%.
I mean, what does 2.5 look like? Because then it,
2.5 could put us more in
It's-
a like flat amount.
But without the step,
yeah,
get without the step.
This is on just the COLA.
And then, like, what's the thing, and then the step can come in December when we know what we have.
Yeah,
Exactly.
2.5% would still have us operating at a gain.
COLA?
Of what?
Of what? How much again?
Oh, you can't see it?
no.
What?
It would be, this is the gain, 112,000. Change that to a 3%. You're still gonna be right-sized, assuming the federal forest fund.
I mean, I could go as far as 2.5, but I'm not comfortable at the 50 number. You know, that doesn't give us a lot of wiggle room for those.
Electric
things.
bills going up. I mean,
Yeah.
our fuel's gonna go up.
Do
busing
you think
kids is
that
gonna be much more expensive next
a
year.
COLA of 2.5 would be well received by the staff as presented?
I mean, it is a step equivalent, but it affects everyone.
Right, it's kind of
Which-
even Steven, plus getting our classified right size on their schedule. I mean, this is,
And
That
then we
feels
get
good.
the 2.5 COLA.
yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
just,
yeah.
I'm sure.
The
They all
step is
get that.
equal to 2.5, but it
Right.
just
No, no.
propagates through the
I
whole
was just
pay
making sure
schedule.
even if
So
we
the
pass-
benefit of the COLA too is that the salary scale would jump up that.
Right.
rate, too.
Right.
Including our starting salary.
Oh, not the first year.
And then I think when we make this official decision, then we do solidify that we will revisit in December once the ballot or, once it's passed. We'll just say it's
Right, we're gonna say, once you guys pass
Yeah.
this and support this and help us
Please
get this
pass.
passed.
So that it's on record and everyone maybe hopefully feels better about it, I don't know.
Right. I mean, we only have what we have.
So as you're thinking about that, let me share what the feedback was. So we
And then we can
did,
talk some more.
yeah, so we did meet with staff for the Meet Confer, and the experiences were different depending on the site we met. But in general, we had 33 respondents to the survey. Majority of the respondents were certified staff with 57.6%. Classified non-year-round were 24.2%, and then the remainder was representative year-round and administrative staff. In the request for what was the most, staff were most interested, step increase was most frequently ranked as the top one choice. Cost of living was the second, and one-time bonus was the third. And then you can break down some of the feedback that was presented here. The actual feedback are in the attached pages to give you an idea of what the comments exactly were, but I use some resources to give you a summary of what they were in those individual key themes from the staff feedback.
And can I just ask a question? I don't know if it's a question or just clarification, but one of the feedbacks was saying that BOCES gets a 3% raise. We don't have anything to do with that, do we?
Nicole and I sit on that board.
Okay.
So yes. And there are two other districts and they have the majority. So,
Well, so Marcy's statement is true.
Yes, this is correct.
Thank you.
3% was given to staff.
Sorry.
But you didn't
Yes.
really get a say, because you don't have the majority,
Say.
yeah. So we had some good comments from this process, and I'm not seeing any of that from here.
You can see the exact, what they said was on the following page.
Yeah, so it's just not in the, well, we had some good comments.
Yeah, it just kind of does a summary, sorry.
I mean, I'm getting good feedback. Are we all reading that right now?
I just shared that. If you want to read it right now, sorry, this is, you can take this home and
Jessica.
review it. As you start thinking about May 12th, and I think you're trying to meet the needs of the staff as you're discussing here, and I think this kind of gives you a little bit of what they want. The other 33
Right.
people who responded of all our staff in the district,
Sure.
I'm hopeful we'll have more representation the next meeting and more conversation, which we didn't have in all our sessions.
So their preference of having a step as opposed to a COLA, by us doing a 2.5, they get a
we
step.
got both of them. We
Right,
covered
they
everyone.
kind of do the same thing.
Yes.
But it wouldn't shift this pay scale.
Right.
Or with the step, sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, the difference is either us increasing the salary schedule or them moving up a step.
Adding more to the overall pay schedule is what keeps us competitive with other districts. So the COLA is what benefits everyone the most.
Right,
with,
because there are,
with the funds that we have.
I agree.
right, there are
It's
educators
ongoing.
at the top of the
Yeah.
salary.
It is ongoing.
It is like,
But yeah, let's, we're in this together.
Wes, you're having another round of meetings?
I am. So between the 12th, when the board makes its recommendation to us to talk to staff about, I will bring that to staff and then have them give input.
The more concrete numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then one of the things that I'll put on the table, which we haven't really discussed, is there's also some creative efforts too that we can add to that. Days work, things like that. So, and that
Little
was,
perks.
right, that if we feel like that's something we can, with your approval, we would say maybe we adjust some days, so that might free up time for folks and say that that feels appropriate based on where we are financially.
So right now, the preference is a step increase, but if you were to propose a COLA of 2.5%, would that preference potentially change?
That's up to the
That's
staff
kind
to
of what you're
decide.
planning on bringing?
Yes.
Okay.
If that's what you choose to do on May 12th.
Well, when are you meeting with them again?
Between our study session and board meeting.
18th, 19th, and 20th.
Okay,
And so,
sorry, I missed the timing.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
just wanted to make sure.
yeah, so 18th, 19th, 20th, I've scheduled to meet with staff at buildings. And at the TMF building, we'll have our presentation of that information. We'll set the table and discuss what are people's thoughts. And see what we can bring back to you to say, here's what we're hearing from them. They do have the right to come to board meeting and share their voice at the board meeting.
Before we make decisions.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
Any other thoughts, comments? I'll move us along, Deidre.
Thank you, Jen, for doing that.
I was just thinking about how it all, we want increased enrollment. To increase the enrollment, you gotta have high quality teachers and test results. And to have high quality teacher test results, you have to have culture, climate, compensation.
In the end, we have
Just
to have
such a
kids.
vicious circle that increase the revenue, we gotta mess the revenue.
But, I mean,
Talk
all,
about-
and yes, that's all true, but we can't control the environment of our county, right? We can't control what makes families want to move here. And I know that some of us are working on other levels to help improve those, but ultimately, we're just an island in and of ourselves, and we're having to depend on all of that.
And state and federal level, what they
Right.
decide where to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many factors and variables, but
But we're not getting the increase in state and federal funding to provide our staff an adequate increase in compensation. So that's why we have to go to the voters for that increase.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
So I am asking, because I have two parts on this. The first one is the frontline, which is our subsystem and our recruiting and hiring, and I'm asking to go ahead and sign a 3-year contract, because this 3-year contract is less money than signing a 1-year contract. This is the same system that we've been using since I joined the district.
And you guys did a deep dive on the research, so
We did, yes.
Yeah, you presented
And
that.
this is as good as it gets.
I would look for a motion to,
I move to approve.
in a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Oh,
We talked about it a lot in the study session, so. All right, seeing none.
I'm sorry. Beers?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
McHugh?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and
I
then
have a quick question about
sure.
the resolution. Are we approving that tonight? Because I have it signed in my folder. For the
The-
meet and confer.
Oh,
Thank
it is in
you.
our folder.
Sorry. Yes, thank you. So, in your document is the meet confer resolution.
Have we had any feedback other than, I mean, have we put it out there?
What you received in the
Okay,
survey.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So if we put it out there like it's a policy kind of thing for feedback, you know, instead of like waiting for the anonymous people to put their things on the matrix.
Are you talking about this?
No, she's talking about this. the resolution.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's in your packet.
You know, kind of like how we do the policies, we put them out there for feedback.
Yeah, you can do that.
I would think that that would be wonderful,
Okay. So we'll hold
Yeah.
off on
a
approving
little
this.
more well-rounded.
So,
That sounds wise.
Sorry about that, Marcy.
No, that's okay. Just want to make sure.
thank
Wait a
you.
second, that was a good catch.
She's keeping some broken.
See, I knew there was a reason why I was looking at things. Thank you, team.
Okay, back to HR.
Benefits, yes.
No, yes, and I am asking if you could please approve or will consider approving, continuing to pay $620 a month towards each employee who is eligible for benefits and takes benefits towards their premium.
And what is that an increase from last year?
It is not an
It is not an
increase, it is just
increase.
holding it.
I'm just getting it out there.
I know.
It is not an increase.
We are not reducing.
What the insurance committee did instead is we did a deep dive into all of the plans that CEBT offers. And we chose different but similar plans so that the increase is either zero, so employees won't pay anything per month if it's a single employee for medical, or it'll be a less of an increase than if we stayed with the plans that we had, the United plans.
Gotcha. I'd move to approve that if we're requiring a vote.
I'll second it.
Sure, we'll vote on it, just so it's out there.
That's why I get the disclaimer.
Lynch?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes,
Thank you.
well, thank you.
yeah.
I know that there
thank
had
the
been
committee.
confusion
Yeah.
on that, so, yeah.
Well, we want to get out in time because they're starting the process of
Oh, yeah.
enrolling for healthcare, and we want to make sure we get that taken care of.
We got all of the documentation, most of the documentation from CEBT today. Of course, there's some edits that they have to make, but we're hoping to roll it all out Monday because open enrollment, and this is per them, not per us, we don't have a choice. Open enrollment is May 1st to May 15th.
I mean, that is something that we could talk about increasing, but also be mindful that not all of our employees take the healthcare benefits here. If they have spouses, they more often than not are taking those.
We did ask the
Mhm.
insurance committee, we have representatives from the buildings,
Mhm.
in, different areas, and we asked them to take it back to their buildings and ask if that was something that was important to them, and it came back that because it doesn't
Mhm.
benefit
Affect
all
everyone.
staff,
Mhm.
they would rather see compensation elsewhere.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, IT services.
Yes.
Thank you for that very thorough process.
Yes. So you have just a few items in your packet. You had asked for us to go out to bid, which we did. We received 20 proposals. The committee went through all of them. You should have the kind of quick and dirty sheet where we had very specific criteria that we were looking for, and it was based on most of what we asked within the RFP. And so that's how we compared apples to apples. The committee reviewed all of that. We got it down to 2. We met virtually with both of those organizations to ask some questions that I had put, I think, in the email to you. And then on the flip side, you had also asked for job descriptions and a salary schedule. So I gave you 2 job descriptions, a director of IT and a supervisor of IT. Those were the last 2 positions we had in-house, which is why that's what you got. Over the years, the IT department has shrunk through attrition and trying to save money and all of that. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have on either the RFPs that you have in front of you. The committee is recommending that we go forward with Soaring, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
The only questions after the plethora of information that you forwarded to us, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm glad
I think
you asked
Aaron-
ahead of time so I could get it all.
Right, yeah, I think Aaron does he's got us a little bit spoiled, right? Like, we get a copy of what he's looking at, and then he compares them, and then he provides the contract, and we're voting on the contract. It's just, I was used to that.
Okay, and I didn't know any of that, but I also, he doesn't do a committee.
Right, yeah, of course, and that was really good, that
Yeah.
you got a committee together and there was, I mean, so I honestly don't have a problem with any of that, and I think the recommendation is the right recommendation. I'm looking at the contract and I have some problems with the contract.
So, I haven't done anything with the contract in terms of, I didn't wanna, if you go forward with Soaring, before we sign the contract will go to Brent. I didn't send it to Brent yet because I didn't wanna spend time and money with him reviewing it if we got here today
Gotcha.
or next week and you said no.
Okay, I see. We don't vote on the proposals. We vote on the contract. So we can discuss this and, say, hey, the recommendation is what it is, but it's the contract that we vote on.
So that for the May 12th then?
Right, yeah.
Well,
And
it'd
I
be
actually
May
have,
21st.
and maybe I can just copy and paste, because I've been doing the financial policies, right? And there's, the financial policies require things that you can and can't do in the contract. So I put together a bullet list of everything that is not right in their proposal/contract. And that's where, I think, send it to you, you send it to Brent, and it makes the work easier. But yeah, I just,
You need this contract.
Well, the RFP, we put out that we would respond to it on May 1st.
Well,
So
can
you
we
can-
just can you just send the contract then? We can all look at it and then we just do like a 5-minute phone
Special
meeting
meeting.
and
right,
approve or not approve.
exactly.
Yeah, I can send it to Brent tomorrow.
Right, and I'll my little cliff notes and bulleted things,
Yeah, if you send that to
to
me,
the
yeah.
policies, then that makes it easier, but,
Perfect.
I mean, I don't have any questions.
So what would the reasonings be to not pursue potential in-house?
I think just the cost. Well, I shouldn't say just the cost. The cost is a big factor. If we can even hire 2 people at the salaries that I'm listing. The other thing is, the nice thing about having a consulting firm is they have many experts in many different areas. So they have a K-12 expert, they have an infrastructure expert. So depending on what our issue is, they can send somebody out. If we have 2 people, they'll either have to be an expert on everything, or we might have to hire out for if we have an infrastructure problem.
And I will say Soaring, that's who we're with right now, newly. And were willing, once they get everything streamlined and, which they're getting there.
They're getting there.
The cost,
Yeah, they're willing in the future, if things work out, in a perfect world, that they would reduce their fees for us too, when things are smooth, which they're not yet. And they might not be in a year, but down the road or so. And like he was saying, he's like, we really need 3 years to get into your systems and get everything the way that they want. And that makes sense to me.
and by one, they're looking forward.
Yes, they're looking
How do our
forward.
technologies work together? Because that was a huge issue in the fall.
Well,
Like, how do we make better purchases moving forward? And they were very cost conscious.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
And really willing
They're-
to work with the teachers, whereas some of the teacher feedback was like the people that we've had were not willing to work with the teachers, were just coming in and being like, this is my job, let me do my job, I don't want to, you don't talk to me type of thing. So I think that was really important.
Is there,
al-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
they're also very pro, technology forward. So they're already looking into AI and how, they're trying to stay one step ahead.
Right.
And like Marcy said, they want to work with the teachers, so the teachers can say, we talked about having different meetings where the teachers are involved with them, so that if the teachers know, hey, we want this technology, they can research it, see if it's going to work. They're partnership all over it.
And training, they're
And
willing to
training.
provide training for,
So what was the committee's consensus on doing just the 1 year with it being renewed without notice or with notice? Unless you gave notice of termination, it automatically renewed, or doing the 3-year term?
The 3-year term is less expensive per month.
I saw
And-
that.
And this transition was in December, January. We're still transitioning, we're still discovering things. It was not smooth, and we knew it wasn't gonna be smooth because the knowledge transfer was a little rough. If we do a 1-year contract and then do another transition, it could be rough. I think our teachers and our educators deserve consistency and IT support that they know they can rely on for year after year. Because the other thing we need to consider is if we transition in the summer, because it's July 1st to June 30th contract. Summer's when we do the bulk of our like off-season stuff,
Mhm.
computer rotation and upgrading systems. And if we're every year changing or every couple of years changing, then it gets our cycles off.
Then I would say that if that is the recommendation is the 3-year, then I would want to see a termination with cause. in the
There is a
contract.
clause in there, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's arbitration and all this other crap that we're not allowed to sign up.
No, I'm pretty sure there was a paragraph that said we could terminate. Unless I was reading the wrong contract, but
I think you
thought
have
it
to
was.
give like 30 days or 60 days, but I think you can terminate for cause.
Because that was something we talked about in the committee.
Yeah.
I would also suggest that we do surveying of the staff so that we get continuous feedback.
And they did do a survey, but I think they should continue. to do
They
so.
would,
Yeah,
So
sure.
that way they get feedback on what the needs of staff are and that it's directed to them to address versus coming here and having.
We paused on any other surveys because we're going through this process. And we felt like they have a list this long of stuff to do. So if we move forward with them, they are intending to do surveys throughout the year.
And then we can present the survey data to you all so that you have an update of like how things are going. And then you can direct us if you feel that's it's going appropriately, or if it's not, then we can start looking at that.
Is everybody good with the 3-year?
I'm wondering if we could, like, say 1 year with the intent is that it's gonna work out and we continue for a year after that?
We can, but it'll be more expensive.
It'll be more expensive. I mean, we might as well go for the 3-year and know that we can terminate with cause.
So what if it turns out not?
They're our current provider.
We can terminate with cause. And if I have to change my password every 2 weeks, we'll be terminating with cause.
The feedback that we've gotten from staff, because yes, they did a survey and we got some feedback, but we also heard in the committee that educators are feeling a little bit surveyed out. And so maybe they're not necessarily answering all the surveys. But between Michelle and I, we get a lot of feedback, good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, educators have no problem just reaching out and saying, this has been a problem. And we have shared the feedback with Soaring and they've addressed it. And their communication, they're on site once a week because that's what we've asked for and that's what we feel best supports our on-site needs. But what they're doing when they're not here is they're constantly communicating with teachers and staff on, okay, you've submitted this ticket, give me a little more information. They're having conversations and fixing things behind the scenes. Our ticket turnaround time has increased exponentially. The amount of open tickets we have is so few compared to first semester. I mean, I feel like they're meeting our staff's needs.
Well, and most of the people on the committee besides me are people that, deal with the IT problems and Soaring
Right, that's what
on a
you're
day-to-day basis, and they all were in consensus.
Right.
with-
Well, we also had Georgetown that was freaking out that they weren't getting any service before they started.
Sammy was
up,
really happy
And
with
then
them.
that whole, and I'm glad Sammy was involved.
Oh,
You
well,
know,
yeah,
that was
she's-
so important.
she has to pay part of that.
Right, exactly, and that's what
Yeah.
I was just getting at, is that a portion of that is Georgetown and not us, out of the sum total.
Mhm.
Yeah, between Sammy and Alicia on like the school side, they were both very positive. Aaron on the operations side was also extremely positive on the communication he's gotten, the support he's gotten, and all of that.
And we do need to address some VPN issues for Aaron's World because.
Thank you.
So we can get cameras talking to
Yeah.
the system. One of the things we brought up with the safety meeting yesterday was the fact that we really need to have all of our schools, including Georgetown, part of the system so that law enforcement can see what's happening in our buildings at all times, not just in crisis, and so they can be available to see things and monitor doors and cameras. And so we're working towards that.
The termination for cause is for them if we don't pay them.
But then termination without.
It's number 2 under the freedom.
We can add that. We can revise that from
Yeah,
our
we need
perspective.
to.
So we'll highlight that for our legal service.
So, but without cause, this is their deal. So they do offer a termination without cause, which means any reason under the sun, but we give them 60 days notice, which I actually think is pretty reasonable because we're gonna need at least 60 days to try and,
Transition.
so if we figure out, oh, we can't work with these guys anymore, we're gonna need to work through that process again. And now that Kristen's done it, it'll be 30 days and then the 45 days of transition.
And we did previously work with them when one of our when we had IT in-house and one of our team members was on leave for the
Mhm.
year, they were our help desk.
I was thinking I'd seen
Yeah.
their names somewhere
Yes,
before.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, so there is termination without cause already written in their proposal. Termination for cause, I mean, yeah, the auto payment thing, I don't think we'd be doing. We don't do auto payments, do we?
It's Jen sets it up through an ACH, right? Eric, don't we pay Soaring through an ACH?
Yeah.
And that's how we paid the previous.
Basically, one termination gives them a faster out.
Well, if we don't pay them, they can terminate us within 10 days.
Right. But ultimately, either party can terminate. But if there's a cause, then they get out faster.
We don't have an option for cause, they have the option for cause.
Yeah, but like you said, it only needs 60 days.
It's a little one-sided on that.
Yes, we do meet with them every week, and so if we have concerns, which, like I said, the transition was rough, we had some concerns.
Right.
We bring it to them every Monday and they address it.
Okay.
I'm just happy they're decoupling the schools, so when we have issues, we're not all dependent on the high school internet.
Yeah, they
That's-
were last
still blows my
meeting
mind,
back at
right?
about 20 half-done projects.
I believe it, IT guys.
So do you feel comfortable having us move forward, sending this to Brent and?
Yeah, once I send the
Yeah, will you send me
policy
your-
bullet points and then we have consensus on the 3 years, I think that was important, and then, yeah.
And then we'll call a special meeting to approve.
All right.
Do we need to look at our calendars now?
Sure. Well, let me reach out to Brent first and see what his turnaround time is, because he's up to his eyeballs with some other things.
Yeah, other towns and districts.
All right, the CEI easy contract.
So I just want to get your approval for, we awarded the EASY funding to support development of a comprehensive district strategic plan. And it starts February 1st of 2026 and goes through June 30th, 27. There are 5 phases to it: project launch, system review and data analysis, community engagement, stakeholder interviews and need assessment, strategic plan development with measurable goals and priorities, drafting, refinement, and board adoption of the strategic plan, and early implementation, support, coaching, and progress monitoring systems. When I mentioned earlier, I think it was when I first started, it's really important we have a strategic plan that guides our work and it has community input, staff input, your input, so that we really have a plan moving forward. So everything is based on that plan, and that will help us give us that North Star for our district.
Has this been scrubbed for our policy? As far as what can be included in a contract and not included?
Have we gone through Brett with this one?
I blacked out. What are we? CEI, we did back and forth, I can't remember if this one was ran through Brent, I don't think so. But I think we had it revised to a place that we felt,
I have all contracts with each other, so
they made the
That's why I
revisions
referred to her.
that I suggested, and I felt pretty good with it, because any of the risks that were on us, I think were addressed, but
Is it fully grant funded?
yes. No cost to the district except for a copy for the gatherings to discuss the strategic plan.
No, I think, I don't think I ran this one by Brent, and I think because of the nature of it and the funding and the partnership and relationship with CEI, not running as many contracts through Brent as
Yeah.
we can would be the best, but running the higher risk ones through Brent is gonna obviously benefit him, us. Like, I sent him an MOU today because there was lots of high risk things, but since they addressed the risk concerns we had, no, didn't run it by Brent, and probably won't run lower risk ones by Brent just due to the hustle.
And I wasn't suggesting that we have to run everything by Brent. I was just saying, like there's 5 things in BJE, right? Under the contracts requirements and, just checking off that list as we're looking at. I don't think we have to submit to Brent.
Yeah.
But I appreciate what you're saying. This is a low risk.
It is,
It's grant funded,
right,
all the, the point is just,
because it's a multi-year contract, it exceeds the 20,000 in 1 year.
Right.
Or 20,000 total, but not even in the 1 year, so I think that it's just brought to the attention simply due to the overall cost exceeding the threshold of 20,000. Multi-year amount.
can we approve it and install it until we know, like I'm running it through chat right now to compare?
I think the first payment starts on June 30th. Do you have some
So we have
time?
some months.
So you've got a whole month of May.
Okay, Jen, I'll do the scrub.
And I likely did that and sent
Okay.
them the suggested revisions that were applicable and made sense.
Okay.
He gets a little confused sometimes, and then they made those revisions, and sent it back. I think, I can't remember what the one thing I had to ask, I think it had to do with the dates on it. I think it was, payment will be 6/1 of this year, and I'd have them revise it to 7/1 just because of the fiscal year timing.
Right, because the grant was given to us in February, which causes a problem. We're not starting to work until August because I don't have the bandwidth right now to
What?
dive into that. In addition to other things we're doing right now,
That's
so.
so understandable.
Yeah.
No, I can appreciate that. If Jen's comfortable with it, I would move to approve it, I would just like to know that she knows that it fits the policies.
Do we need a motion and a vote if it's under the threshold?
It's not under the threshold if it's multi-year.
Got it. Okay, then I need a second.
I'll second.
All right, Pierce,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
Yes.
Thank you.
MOU between Mountain Youth Network and Clear Creek School District for resiliency focused program.
So this has been presented before, so for clarity of this revision is that the MOU still exists between Mountain Youth Network and our school district. It's just that JCMH has been taken off of the MOU. They'll still be providing the services they currently provide.
So this is just basically fixing what we were not understanding for
Correct.
the last thing.
Correct.
Okay, I would move to approve.
I will second.
Pierce,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
Yes. Control access policy.
So this one is the correction of the red line on page 2 of the document, the MOU, which changes it to law enforcement and corrects that mistake that was on the previous rendition. And that what it allows is that law enforcement, when there was a situation at one of our schools, they could use the keys that would be assigned to the sheriff's department, that would be attached to a ring that would be assigned to the vehicle, And that would be a way of the sheriff's department controlling the key access, and that it would avoid the possible situation where a first responder opened the Knox box, took all the keys with them, and then leaving the folks who would follow support that first responder into the building from not being able to access and having knocked out the front door, basically.
Now, I thought that maybe we've had a few meetings.
Go back to page 2 for you
Yeah,
here.
go to the red part there.
Yeah.
Did the sheriff's department agree to that? I thought that they did not agree to that and that we were willing to pay for that so that they, I mean.
Yes, we agreed that we would pay for it.
But it's saying here CCSD will be compensated by them for rekeying
Oh.
the districts, and we don't want that.
Thank you.
So just strike that second red sentence?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
I wasn't sure.
No, that was at the last meeting, you asked for that to be, that you were comfortable with us paying the $2,000.
Yeah. So
I'll look for a motion to
I
approve with amendment.
move amended,
Pierce,
Yes.
King,
yes,
Lynch, yes, thank you,
yes.
North.
Yes. All right, the ECE playground grant.
So
Let's
this is-
cue it up and then Carrie Ann's got questions.
Of course.
So this was presented previously regarding a grant that the foundation is applying for through DOLA, the Colorado Department of Local Affairs, to build an early childhood education outdoor learning environment at Carlson Elementary. The state grant program is designed to transform school grounds into community-oriented, centered, nature-based spaces that support student learning and physical activity and public use outside of school hours. The funding would go through us for the project, but it would be applied for by the foundation.
Bring up. There had been some verbiage about CCMRD, has that changed?
Yeah, no, it's still the same,
Okay.
which is a little weird.
Which one is, what's at the top of the page?
So,
Draft DOLA.
yeah, it's still a draft.
Oh, maybe you went
So
to-
the
Yeah, here
1,
you go.
2, 3, 4, the fifth whereas says that we have a partnership with the Metro District for supporting our community access activation and long-term stewardship, but that's kind of in our vehicle of the facility.
Usage during like
usage
summer and
thing.
things like that,
Like,
yeah.
are we just saying that, yes, the Metro District can use our form? I mean, that's essential, because we already have that
Right,
process.
yeah,
And we still want it to go through Lorraine or
Yep,
you, or
correct.
all of those
Yeah.
things, okay.
I'm okay with, the way I understand this is we're just approving the grant application process. And
Correct.
then if we get the grant, we're gonna revisit and make sure we're wanting to move forward, because at that point, we can refuse the grant or we can move forward. Like, I just wanna see where we are.
so what you're doing is approving, grant has been applied for because the initial was that we discussed it at a board meeting and so that he could meet the deadline for application. So you can always deny, I'm not saying you can't deny, you can deny the recipient of receiving the funds. And so because we would be the steward of those funds, we'd hold those funds for the project.
Well, we'd be financially responsible for the project
Right.
overall.
Yeah.
It's our whole liability.
Right,
And so we're sure that the grant funds are covering everything. Like, I just don't know that
There's a
financial.
gap.
Yeah, I don't think financially we have the money, like, our capital needs, this isn't one. This is not a need, this is a want type
This
of
is
thing.
gonna cover the ECE, the little, so
two
the,
spaces, it covers the EC space, which is down by that area.
and it more than covers that
And then
outdoor
on
space.
the north side, it provides a learning area. If you see the drawings, it has,
It's like a log outdoor classroom.
right, yeah.
Didn't we also clarify that if we ultimately didn't want to, we could get the funds back and
That was
then
correct.
cancel out?
That's why we okayed the application.
So there is $130,000 gap in the current funding right now, and I
He
would,
said he would, I think he did our conversation cover that.
yeah,
Right.
I get that, but at the
Sorry.
same time, unless it's in writing, it's nothing when
So,
it comes to money.
okay,
Well, let me just start off with my other notes here.
okay,
Whereas the district completed design work in collaboration with National Wildlife. The district didn't do that, the foundation did that.
Okay.
And I don't know, is this going to the grant folks for review? Do they need this resolution to know that there's a partnership, or is this just for us? And is this a vehicle for receiving?
so two things, this has gone to them already because we had to meet the deadline, and this is part of the application, my understanding is that was submitted,
Gotcha.
and so we can revise this. This is
Sure,
our contract
okay.
with the foundation, but the general document was sent to them for the application. Because we had to have it brought up in the board meeting so that when the application was submitted, that it was reviewed, it could be stated it was reviewed by the board.
So when I read the leading paragraph, it sounds like this is not with the foundation, this is with the Clear Creek Rec District.
It may have been read, I think that where you see the difference between, yep, I see what you're saying because of the fact that I think it was revised for us to be the stewards of the funds.
Was it required for the grant for it to be
Yes.
a community
Yes,
project?
yes.
So that's,
That's part of it.
yeah.
I guess I get a little queasy on the gap there, but we can move on from that a little bit. Like, I would really love to see that the district is not expending any funds towards this, you know, in those words, you know, like I mean, this wasn't even on our priority list of any of this, you know. The other thing would be, and I was just talking to somebody else about this the other day. They did think it was a little weird that our tenant is going to be the owner rep. Right? Is there another scenario that we can think of that might work there? Do we ask them to do a different owner rep or a
Could be
third-party
someone-
owner rep?
Or be
Our owner
Aaron.
rep? I don't know that Aaron has the bandwidth. We're already signing him up for 60 hours on this project. Right?
But that's a great question, to
Fish around.
we'll have an offline conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then it says in here somewhere, maybe Marcy remembers, but it says somewhere along the lines of the compensation for what Aaron's putting forward may be reimbursed. It needs to be reimbursed.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise, we're making a donation to a capital project that we didn't even, I mean, it's great. It's fantastic, but it's not on our priority list.
Right. Points.
And so the community use agreement, I mean, that's where, you know, it's with Metro District. And I think we just need to massage that wording where we're directing them to the facility use policy. Yeah, we are absolutely willing to work with Metro District to accomplish what they need to accomplish, and we have a vehicle for that.
Yep.
We don't have to recreate the wheel there.
Okay. Good.
Are there action items that they need from us?
Well, we need to at some point approve this document officially, so what I can do is
we make amendments to it, maybe we can do that at the same time
Make some
that we're
revisions and then
approving the NIT contract.
possibly, yeah. I'll call Mitch.
This probably isn't that big a rush though.
It's not, because it's already gone through the process.
Yeah.
This is for our purpose moving
Mhm.
forward.
This is
Our
for
agreement.
us to
Yeah.
solidify our
Right,
agreement
if the
with the
funds are
state.
provided,
Yeah.
then it provides us clarity with
Right.
the foundation,
And and we should throw some protections for
Yeah.
the district.
not discreet.
Yeah, okay, great,
So that, the timeliness
So
is
don't-
not rushed.
Not rushed.
Right,
not rushed.
but it is homework assignment.
This is where we aren't getting our long-term plans.
All right, say policy JH, Michelle isn't able to be with us because she's traveling.
Is she online?
No, she was online for the IT referral.
Okay.
But I know that there are still some
I thought
gaps.
you said you were gonna remove it from the agenda.
I said that I had talked with Lori and it was still there, so I was just letting you know that it was still there, but that we weren't really gonna make motion
Okay.
forward because Michelle wasn't here, but I know that, did you have some gaps that you wanted to lift up? Or,
I've shared some of them,
Mhm.
already with Michelle, but I don't think that, what she submitted has been updated. But some of actually the feedback that we received from the community, that second one, I feel like outlines it beautifully.
Mhm.
So that's what I would say.
Annie? Yeah,
And I felt like when you and I were chatting about the policy, that it gotten to a good place. And then that good place is not what I'm seeing. It's not there now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I asked explicitly if we were okay moving forward with the other version. And it was agreed upon and with lots of edits. And then I did receive an email stating that we should go back to the original.
I know that there were some concerns that if CASB put a new version out, that the next board might scrap all the work. But I don't know that this board would scrap all of the work. I think we would look at what CASB is suggesting and incorporate it. Is that? I don't know. It's kind of hard to speak for future boards, but
I used the one from CASB and I used all the CASB language.
Yeah.
I just made it more, let's, I wanna look at this one. This policy shifts a significant amount of responsibility on the families. So the one that I kind of reworked shifted a lot of it off of the families.
Like her paragraph 5 is good, where it starts with additionally.
Yeah, there was some back and forth about the bullet points of like what is and is not considered an absence or an excused absence. And at the end of the day, I was like, how much does it matter if it's excused versus unexcused? Because we could request information to make an absence excused, but then ultimately an excuse or an absence is an absence. So if it's an unexcused absence, you just get led to truancy faster as opposed to just chronic absenteeism first, which is where the school should start to get involved. So my argument was the school should get involved regardless before we start truancy proceedings.
Yeah,
So
and that-
threshold is for habitual truancies, 4 days in 1 month or 10 days in a year.
Unexcused.
I think
It's unexcused.
okay.
Whereas excused is, no, chronic
A bigger
absenteeism
threshold.
is excused and unexcused.
Okay.
Correct.
Chronic
Oh
absenteeism.
my God. Serious listening.
Always.
Wow.
Never turned mine on.
So, the proceedings for chronic absenteeism is for the school to get involved first and to like set up some sort of plan.
Right.
Whereas if it's only unexcused absences, then you lead to truancy proceedings faster. If a student gets 10 unexcused absences, I'd argue that the school should get involved before going to truancy, even though it technically meets truancy criteria.
I hear what you're saying. I think Michelle does this work, and so she really needs to be in the room to explain what her role is as our truancy officer, because she's the one that files those documents with the court system. And there are so many nuances, whether excused, unexcused, the time period they're done, and the plan that the principal and the staff put in place for that situation. So I apologize, I know.
No, it's all right.
The other thing, Marcy, that says about this, oh my God, paragraph that you said, the one thing about this comment toward, and it says chronic absenteeism is concerning. I think that that's actually a legal definition and we can't change that.
Correct.
So even though that might not be agreed upon, like, we don't really have a way around that.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't really distinguish between students who are disengaged versus those who are navigating life circumstances.
Correct.
But I really tried to work in Carrie Ann's request about like ensuring that situations that needed it would get some clearance.
And this is probably a Michelle question, did we learn how Infinite Campus counts half days, whole days, late?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did, and it's,
Mhm.
okay, so so it counts absences in the morning. So if you are at school in the morning, then you're not counted as absent. But if you are excused later in the day after absences are counted, that absence doesn't count at all, even if it's a half day. Or if you are not present in the morning, say for a doctor's appointment or something like that, and it counts your absences, that counts as a full absence. And then if you show up in the second half of the day, you don't get any credit. So my question was, is this something that we can kind of,
I think it's all automated now. I mean, the computers are checking kids in.
so is this something that like we can like do an independent double check of to make sure that,
Oh, I'm sure, I would hope that Michelle, within her legal responsibilities, would go through and verify that before court proceedings are requested.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be tossed out of court just because the computer said something like that. And her knowledge of the kids that are impacted, the families impacted, she wants to make sure all of her ducks are in order, to make sure she goes forward, because you don't want to go in front of a judge and say, oh, sorry, and then it's tossed out.
but I figured I got the answer to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think when, or at least I was just noticing, or maybe it was just on his report, that when Tom Myers was here, he was going to court every freaking week.
Yeah, it was a
Like,
lot.
whoa, what happened there? I'm not seeing that you're going to court every week.
So I know CASA stepped in, they've got a program that's helping to identify some of those kids. And I don't know how they're identifying them, because I don't think they're getting data from us.
They're not getting data from us, they're looking, I think, at high-risk families or situations.
So they've interceded because they didn't like seeing so many
So
kids.
it was a lot.
Mhm.
Some of the feedback that I got while at the Carlson office hours, there's been a remarkable amount of student absences. And what has the follow-up been, is the question.
You're
But
saying
do we
increase
have a-
this year compared to last year, is that what you're
At
saying?
Carlson.
Last year, it was something like 50% were absent more than 10 days. for the entire school year.
And then this year is,
I don't know about this year. That just felt like a big enough number to me that I was like,
and I think, I think it's up to the building leaders if they're seeing that kind of absenteeism, that's almost task force help.
Yeah.
Like, they need to pull in, the
Yeah, so we're-
resources that are.
yeah. That's just some of the feedback that I got is,
Yeah.
what are we doing about this?
Right. Yeah.
Because from the teacher standpoint, it didn't feel like there was enough. Which is where that operational thing came in and.
So are you saying, I guess I'm not
I
understanding.
guess we kind of got off the
The
policy.
direction that you would prefer it to go? Are you saying more punitive or more?
I think that the policy should be written so that you have enough evidence to support what you are or not. Oh my God. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Say, but also to have the liberty to ultimately have flexibility.
Right, and I think we had always come to that
So no.
conclusion that we wanted the teachers and the
Yeah.
building leaders to have flexibility after the touch with the student, like finding out what the heck's going on, and,
So-
that sort of thing.
To answer, no, not more punitive. Less
Okay.
less punitive,
Yeah,
more.
okay. I thought we were on the
the
same
school
page.
should
I was
get
hearing
involved.
differently
Yeah.
there for a
This-
second.
The school should get involved first, and that involvement should look more like, what's a plan, how can we help,
Right,
versus a punitive plan.
yes, yes.
But then if it got there, that would happen, and then sure it's, but
Mhm.
I'm not the enforcer, so.
I do want to highlight that our schools service different communities, and so there's nuances into that too. And so I do agree that the school should have a plan in place to support families and students who are struggling, and there may be factors outside of the school that are causing those situations. And ultimately that there is some accountability if there is kind of a neglect, as you would say, in making sure making sure they come to school, because it's compulsory they come to school. And for the best interest of the student, they come to school for many reasons. And so if we see some sort of neglect showing up in attendance, that we are able to address that. That's fair to say.
There was an initial agreement that we were gonna use the one that I had, rewritten. We made a lot of edits, and then, it was requested to go back to the original one, so.
I would still like to hear what Michelle has to say, just because she's the one. I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I also would like her input since she's the one that does it.
Right, she's ultimately, yeah, I think what Cindy's trying to say is this is communicating parents on why we have reports of attendance and helping them understand and navigate that. And Michelle uses it for helping us as a district stress where we say, okay, you've now gone past the state limit for absences, and now we have to move forward with that, and making sure we have everything in place so we can do that, and also let the parents know why.
But I mean, yeah, I guess we just have to wait for Michelle to be here, because I would like to know how receptive she is to some changes, to all of that, to some of that, and she's not here to even hear our concerns.
Right.
So, I think we have to
Queue it
start,
up,
yeah.
5 hours in.
We can make the first thing the next meeting. So she-
And Cindy, I really appreciate your work on this. I thought, that last draft iteration that we had gone through was pretty solid, but,
I'm not the one enforcing, so.
yeah, no, I get it. And she has to live it, so it makes a lot of sense. We'll just have to put this back on the, I would move to table this until Michelle can join us.
All right,
It needs to be a vote.
Second.
Spears,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
yes. All right, the purchasing authority policies.
I'll turn this over to Jen and to Carrie and to explain this one. You do have a summary.
Just read his summary. Beautifully done.
Thank you.
Jen, would you like to? I can start. So you guys know where this all came from. There's just some confusion and some conflict between a couple of the different policies. And so We wanted them to simplify the process and make it easier for the staff to understand when and where contracts are required, when and where RFPs are required, and when Wes can just write a check. We did end up deciding to rescind policy in this proposal, to rescind policy BJCA, and we've had that consensus discussion prior to this. We took the elements, the most important elements of that particular policy was the emergency purchasing functions, and so we have plopped those into a couple of the other policies, and you can see that as we're going through. The flow chart, I understand Jen likes to use. It is
Twice
helpful.
this week already.
Right? Now, one of the things in the policy that determines whether or not something is required for a contract or if it's just a purchase is also, and it's in our policy itself, is if it means there's an upset, or not an upset, but a change in the way our organizational chart is presented. So for instance, if something is in-house and it goes out of house, then it's required for the board to approve that. That's missing on our flow chart, just so you know. It's very rare. So if we want to look at, let's start with DJE. So this has just a lot more words in it, but it also explains a lot more and defines more. It adds the emergency purchases, policy or procurement procedures so that Wes is able to save our school if he needs to. And it, you know, what we had before was just kind of vague, right? So you could maybe subjectively decide one way or the other on things, but this is a lot tighter. And it includes, I think it's the red stuff that's, you know, what we have added to this, and that was based on our communication about, you know, we need more definitions. What does this mean? What is a professional service? So we've kind of outlined this as well. DJA, and this one's the one where basically the superintendent can purchase, and he has a threshold of up to budget expenditures up to 10,000, but less than 20,000. So up to 10,000, Wes can take care of. And then it's defined in here, which the old policy did not define, what happens between the 10 and the 20. And so now we've defined it here, what happens there. And then on the rest of it here, you know, we're also, you know, just reiterating the emergency services and, you know, the boilerplate thing about, you can't do 10,000 here, 10,000 there, and then 6 months later, another 10,000, that's cumulative. So that's included as well. Let's see, and this one is where we start to plop in the capital project authorization. We talked about that before where, you know, there may be a point, and we hope there's going to be a point where Aaron will come to us with a list of his capital projects and we'll pre-approve those, and as long as it doesn't go over a certain percentage, then he can get his work done with us. And of course, he has to go through the RFP process. He just doesn't have to keep bringing us back the contracts. Okay. DHA. This one is where it gets, you know, where we're required to participate. If it, wait, this is not that. Okay, so this is the one where the superintendent, it's just reiterating the superintendent not to exceed $10,000. It was 20, we took it down to 10 because we're poor. You know, 20 here, 20 there. And we took that number 3 there to make it clear that it's not just a line item in the budget, it's a specific line item that, is there, it's titled, right? And then again, we follow through with the emergency contracts, process that, you would be working with here.
Trust me, Jim holds me to this, so anytime I get close to even numbers, she reminds me.
The only
of-
question I have about reducing the 20 down to 10
Mhm.
is the use of this man's time.
We saw his recommendation.
Was 10 your recommendation? Did I want to-
It's written in here, he
Yeah.
recommends that we approve
Yeah.
it.
I'm fine with it.
It still allows for the 10,000 to 1999, so long as all of the other
Okay,
things.
Right,
are met.
exactly.
Right.
That's precisely right.
that's
Because,
specifically the brand
because there
new.
was the gap there, and so I think
We had a lot of.
then
big
there's still a
stuff.
huge kind of interpretation, and a lot of this policy work comes about as I think about different departments, and when it's open for interpretation, it's like, well, this was only applicable to maintenance, because that's how maintenance is used to and the board's used to, but then what about transportation? They just asked to get, for a second, a alternator, that's not the right word, some bigger engine part, and it was like, well, how much is it gonna
Transmission.
cost, a transmission? So then, I have to think, oh, that's applicable to them as well, we would still need board approval and then the IT, so I mean, it's, in grants, we used to just not really review those contracts, they were just signed by the grant, director of teaching and learning, so it's making consistency in the district for all departments and not just what has been historically done and what one board member thinks or what one department head thinks or if this department head or what they did 5 years ago and have gotten used to, so it's just me being able to say, no, this, look at it, this is it, providing this to the different departments, and then also any person who steps into this role who doesn't have historical context on how things have been done and are interpreted through it, it's just more clear and well defined.
And then, Jen will have a summer project of putting together a handbook, kind of getting into the nitty gritty and the details of how she's expecting each of the departments to perform under these policies. And I provided a draft and you fill in as you want. But I think, that's an important piece of this because there's only so much detail that we can put in the policy itself. There's going to be so many scenarios that you can't put in our 2-page policy, but if you have a manual and it clearly identifies those scenarios, and you're not going to be able to dream up all the scenarios. But for departments, I think it's helpful. You get a new department head. Here's your expenditure policy manual.
And then if my seat becomes occupied by somebody else, there isn't, I mean, I think it's just consistency and clarity all around the district.
Yeah, needed.
It helps.
So hopefully you're seeing, since I've joined, that as we progressed, more transparency about
Absolutely.
purchases. And even if they're not meeting the threshold, or at least making you aware of large purchases, so you know that they're happening. So if you have somebody ask you a question, or it's in public record that you've been made aware of anything, so there's nothing happening behind the scenes as far as.
It has gotten so much better on that front. It's so appreciated. And I don't think it's just us. I think it's the community too. Like, believe it or not, sometimes people watch us. They're seeing that as well. I get a little bit of that feedback.
Good.
Yeah.
I do ask for a striking of anywhere in the document that says Chief Financial Officer and change it to Financial Director of Finance.
Okay.
Right? Do you feel comfortable moving this forward on first read?
I mean, that's up to the crew here. I've done what I've done.
A lot. It's a lot of
It
work.
was a lot.
For the two of you, it's a lot of work.
Thank you for your help.
Do we have to do them separately or can we?
We can move them as a
As a set,
set, yeah.
I will move to rescind DJCAR and approve DHA, DJ, DJA, and DJE.
DHA.
And DHA?
And full chart.
I said that one.
Oh, okay. And flow chart too?
And we're approving the flow chart, and I have moved to approve the flow chart.
What about the, capital project?
We don't, I mean, that's incorporated into the policy itself.
Okay.
And so we just need Aaron to bring us forward something. We have a draft resolution when he does.
And we'll just amend it.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And I'll second Marcy's motion.
Beers,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say that.
If I could just do one thing more on the finance, because I'm gonna be gone next week, so if you do have questions, I don't know how to answer them. As you're thinking, before I come with the proposed budget, which is only going to be assuming the classified adoption, salary schedule, so we'll have room to do it before the adoption. If you're thinking of a 2.5 COLA, since the feedback came later of the desire for step being the number one, you could do the step and 2.5 for those who the step is not applicable to, and it would still result in.
But the step doesn't affect all of our educators.
That's what she's saying. That's what she's saying.
The ones that and
Oh.
for the
So
ones that
anybody who's
aren't.
maxed out, get a 2.5 COLA, admin, coaches.
No, it doesn't work that way.
No.
No.
It'll mess up the salaries.
Yeah. Suddenly you'd have like a big jump. So, yeah,
That's.
it's a great idea.
So what about a one-time payment then,
I know.
if they don't qualify?
Should have done that, thanks guys, I'm
Is that
sorry.
a stipend for those who don't qualify?
But they all
That's
have
not
going.
Yeah.
That doesn't help them for retirement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't count.
Sorry. that's
Whereas a
your-
COLA would help them with retirement.
See what feedback you get.
Huh?
Let's see what feedback you get.
Fair enough.
Let's start there.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
It's only gonna affect like a handful of people, so the feedback is not gonna say, but if they understand that it's a 2.5% increase, that's across the board to everyone.
I mean, they're gonna have office.
So that's,
So
so
sometimes it's
steps,
just
so
some,
steps move up
Because some of them are at
2.5%.
step one.
Right.
Yeah, so then we say COLA.
But I guess I would like to see what
Okay.
they say when you
Yeah,
put these
fair enough.
numbers
Yeah.
forward.
I agree.
I would move to approve the consent
Thank
agenda.
you.
I'll second.
Beers,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
North.
Yes.
I move to adjourn the
Wait,
meeting.
I have on the future agenda.
Oh, sorry. I brought you your bill.
Oh, you're the,
Future agenda items, yes.
not trying to steal your thunder.
No, you're good.
I'm suggesting that at our, study session, that we just briefly go over or start talking about the org chart that we previously did work on but never, finalized. And then maybe we ponder it over the summer and solidify it in the fall.
So remember, Wes, we would give you a few months to figure out the life here, and then we'd ask you to present
The
an
org
org chart. So maybe, you know, it is your org chart,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable that you think you're at that level with your experience with your staff and the district?
And it's a future agenda item, it may
It's a
not fit
future,
this
yeah.
month, but, with that, we do need to discuss the change in the director level, so if we're eliminating a director position, we just need to say, this is
All
not,
right, we
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah.
So,
so, just so it's,
Yep.
There's probably other
Yeah,
things in there.
probably, but.
It's
Okay.
your organization.
Yeah.
Settle us out.
Yeah, thank you for helping to give us a plan.
sure.
Do you need direction from us? Like, you are doing so many things.
I don't know
Like-
the difference.
Okay.
You know, when people say,
because
don't
we-
keep us stressing.
We owe you a review in the next couple months,
Yes, ma'am.
but I would love to know how that would be helpful because what we had doesn't fit the shape that we're in now. I think I showed you an old one, but anyway, we can talk about
It could be a
that.
narrative, it doesn't have to be with the a rubric.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could say a narrative of saying what you feel like I'm doing well, what things I continue to work on, and what things I need to improve.
Is there
I
a
think that's more
generic?
meaningful than the
Say what?
stupid numbers.
Is there like a generic one that?
I mean, I'll share the
She
one
had
that
a generic
we,
one she created.
yeah,
It's terrible.
I have the one that we
Can you
used
just Google?
before. Yeah,
It's generic review.
but yeah, then I created a new one and
Hopefully, that's a little bit.
Kristen helped me work on it, and then it was like, if we're gonna do a strategic plan, all of that work really,
That is true.
because the strategic plan is gonna
It'll drive my.
drive.
It'll
Right.
drive, right.
Right, and that'll
So-
be Julie Campbell too.
That's the only reason, but yeah, I'll get a framework just so that you guys have some questions to ask her.
But yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
what are the framework?
Yeah.
Google what a framework is and then see what things that align and
Yeah.
scratch what doesn't.
But yeah,
You already have the previous
Or
one.
we
just-
haven't
Or
done
just
one
provide a narrative for each one.
last year, Karen
Or,
was here, so.
yeah, the detriment.
It's been
And we barely did it then.
yeah.
Could do a Likert scale for it.
But we can talk. Let's come up, yeah.
Can I do my motion yet?
Yes, please.
Yes, you may.
To adjourn.
Yes, by second.
Spears,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want your signing?
Yes.